And we're live on the YouTube. Let me see if this works first. And then we can start the episode. It's quite the fat episode today, but we're gonna speedrun it for Custa.
Yeah!
For Custa.
Speedrun for
As I said,
Custa.
I just need to be out of here by like 4:45.
So we have 3 hours
we have
of
3
podcast.
hours. Yeah, yeah. As I said, like I don't know, like we don't need a speed run.
All right,
fine.
fair enough. Yeah. Okay. We don't need to do any pre-show. We don't need to wait for anyone. We can just get things going. So everyone has access to the rundown, yeah. So we can see what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Who needs the rundown?
Exactly. Yeah, that's much away. Yeah.
No.
You know.
You are my rundown, Johnny. I just follow
Holy
you.
shit! Wait, this is a
fearlessly.
fat episode. Well, we have to.
Yeah.
No, it looks fatter because I wrote all the italic shit. But don't worry about that. That's just for my purposes. You guys ready?
Yes.
All right. I've asked if you're ready like 3 times now. Never mind.
Yes.
Wait, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Costa, shut up. Plat chat Overwatch, episode 144. We're live with a bit of a preview episode for Countdown Cup, but also talking about tons of announcements that happened in the past week. We're obviously excited heading into Overwatch 2. What, it's like 2 weeks away now? Yeah, it's like almost 2 weeks. 2.5?
Something like that,
2.5 weeks.
No, I think it's actually 2. I think it's 14 days now.
Yeah, 14 days. There we go. I played some ranked yesterday in Overwatch 1, and I couldn't. I can't wait. I just can't wait for Overwatch 2 to come around and for people
You're
to start
a
caring
brave man, bro.
about
I wouldn't
ranking.
even queue up right now.
Dude, it was like I had Diamonds on my team, and Gator was on the team playing Caster or something. It was just ludicrous. It was crazy. Episode 144. We got a lot to talk about in this episode. I figured we'd save some of the preview talk for, of course, this episode. It'd be great. But then they just came out and started announcing stuff for Overwatch 2. Obviously, the third hero, Kitsune. Is that how you pronounce it? Kitsune? Japanese accents are not my...
No,
my
Kitsune
go-to.
Rushes are old. It's like Kiriko.
It's Kiriko.
Yeah, Kiriko. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's Kiriko. Oh, I got the name wrong. It wasn't
Yeah, you fucked that one up.
I fucked that one up real bad. Kiriko. I know what I'm talking about, guys. Don't worry about it. But yeah, let's just get into it straight off the bat. Overwatch 2, they came out. I wanna save the new hero talk for just a little bit because there was a lot of details that came out around the game, and obviously we've been speculating about the battle pass for the longest time now, how it's going to work, unlock the new heroes, and they came out with a developer blog essentially explaining like all the new systems. You know, loot boxes are being replaced, and instead you have access to like an individual shop that's going to update based on your preferences, what heroes you're playing, so you can buy individual skins. But primarily just about the battle pass stuff, what they got planned for the future seasons. They mentioned, for example, that they'll be rotating new maps with new heroes every other season. They got a new hero coming out later this year, I believe. And then they're excited to have 2 more coming, I think season 6. I'm just riffing. Season 6 and season 8, I think, next year.
Season 4 and season 6. There
you go. Season 4 and season 6. They got new heroes coming out next year as well. So they're definitely hyping up that there's a lot more heroes in the pipeline. The big talking point was that the new hero, it's not going to be available for competitive play the first couple of weeks. Instead, you'll be able to play it in all the other modes, mystery heroes, quick play, all that good stuff, because they're worried about, you know, releasing a broken hero that just goes into ranked. If you buy the battle pass, you can just abuse it to high SR, etc. But it's unlocked at level 55. Now, we have no idea how long it actually takes to reach the 55. John Spector had some comments about it, for example. It'll take a few weeks, for example, if you grind it out. But he expects most of the player base to unlock it long before the end of the season anyway. So, level 55. Avast, I was not on social media, but I was made aware that you made some napkin math.
No, I want to mold this at some
Wait, I
point.
mean, whoa. Wait, the napkin math is relevant to Overwatch 1. I literally said as a disclaimer, and also I double checked it too because there was a post on Reddit that literally echoed the same thing. Someone did the same exact napkin math, and it's the same shit. But I literally said at the top, I do not know if this is accurate. I literally, like, you can't be like...
That doesn't allow you to just lie after saying... You can't just put something at the top and then just make these crazy claims
But
about...
it's not a crazy claim. It's based off Overwatch 1. And so, like, that's it. That's literally it. It's literally based off Overwatch 1 experience. And I said, don't know if it's accurate. So if it mirrored Overwatch 1, this is how I would think around it would work. This is not saying it's how it's going to work. I'm not saying 100% factual, write it in the stone tablets. This is how it's going to work. I literally said this could be very incorrect. This could be. Why is anyone upset about it? Because it's not. I literally didn't say that it's right. I just said this is how.
I just pointed it out. I wasn't angry. I just pointed it out.
I'm upset.
Other people were.
I am, because I feel like what it does is it stokes the flame, because what happens is the way all these things exist in just the internet is that people, they read your disclaimer, they take the fact, and then they just remove the disclaimer, and then they post that somewhere else and being like, who's your source? Oh, Avast said it. And then all of a sudden...
But also, it's not even... Okay, even if it's not totally correct, which it isn't, by the way, because I don't know exactly, but it sounds like it's not. John Spector's post where he said, like, it might take you a couple weeks still kind of lines up with that data.
Well, a couple of weeks is relative to... Like, a couple of weeks is irrelevant. We need to know the factor of how many gameplay hours it's going to think.
Yeah,
that's
but
what
like,
Didn't yours come to like 70 hours or something like that? Or something?
No, it came to less than that. It was way less than that. I don't remember. It was like 40 hours or something.
Yeah, it wasn't.
But
70,
it was like 30 something hours. No, not even close. It was to get to 55 based off Overwatch 1 experience. You needed, like, roughly, if you did 2 weeks of grinding to unlock it before competitive, you needed 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day.
I think
so. That would be like, that's 2 weeks straight of 2 hours a day, which is not unreasonable, even if that's not accurate.
I think the big thing is, even if it does exist in the way that you said, like the scaling of the XP is exactly the same as Overwatch 1, the big difference that I think is going to change the landscape of that is going to be the daily and the weekly challenges. I think that's going to give you massive XP boosts throughout the Battle Pass. So we don't really know how all that's going to scale. We also don't know if the Battle Pass scales with XP, of like if it's easier to get early levels. Like I saw on the graphic, it was like 10,000 experience at level 1, and then people also saw the level 55 one, and it was 10,000 experience. So if that's staying a standard 10,000 experience, then that would make it a lot easier to understand. But we honestly don't know. Maybe that level 55 one was just like a stock standard image that they just put in there, and it isn't relative to what it needs to be.
They definitely could change it later down the line too. Like it might not even stay at 55. They might bring it down before launch. There's still a couple of weeks. That is definitely an image. That's definitely an image that's probably been internal for a long time. I can't imagine they mocked that up a day before, and just put it out. So it's definitely worth holding your horses on that kind of stuff, because just to echo Connor's point, no, not Connor's point, Scott's point even.
Yeah.
Against Connor's point.
But there's no point Connor. Here. There's no point. It was me just speculating.
No, I'm echoing Scott's point, because the problem is, even if we don't like it, we are viewed almost, in some senses, we're on the fucking podcast for fuck's sake, as a point of authority. So like, I personally don't like speculating that. Okay, shut up, Johnny. Shut up. No, we're not. Matt's the authority when he's on the fucking podcast. That's who you really got to believe. But like, the thing is, like, stoking the flames is just so fucking crazy. And like, I don't know. I saw it. I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. Like, the disclaimer's there. But people are going to do what Scott said. They're going to be like, oh, I didn't see the first 3 letters in the first sentence, so I'm going to ignore it and then move on and parrot it as fact. That's just what happens, I will say.
Yeah, that's what happens. But I'm still going to tweet. I'm still going to do it. I don't give a shit if someone's going to.
Of course you are, because it's free fucking cloud, baby.
I gotta give you
free likes.
It's an amazing first day tweet. It is amazing, and people will rally on.
I don't feel like it's unfair for me to say, by the way, this might not be accurate, and then if someone misinterprets, it's not like me posting it as fact and then coming back after the fact and saying this might not be accurate. I literally precede the tweet that it might not be accurate.
It's got more annoying, obviously, seeing the result of that kind of tweet and then people kind of parroting after that, right? Like that's the more annoying thing. On the actual battle pass levels and stuff, if the weekly challenges go kind of crazy, because I'm just thinking to the way I view the battle pass right now, because I don't have my hands on it, is how the Apex one works. And some of those challenges to get the 10 stars in the battle pass to gain a complete level, they're not that hard. It takes a little while. And also, Blizzard have, or will have soon, a fuck ton of data. They already have the average playtime of every single player. So they definitely tailored it around that in some senses. So it's not going to be unreasonable for your average player to gain the new hero. Plus, obviously, you can just buy the battle pass and get the hero anyway.
Yeah, just no, I can't say that.
Just buy it.
I think it's a hilarious conversation, because I think if you actually polled people as well, even if we had the perfect estimate, even if John Spector came out and was like, you need to play 20 hours of quick play, if we had the exact number, no speculation, I still think people have such an
yeah.
like a horrible idea of how
people
much they
don't
actually
exist.
play the game, that if you polled them, they were like, oh my god, 20 hours. I play like 20 hours a month. It's like, you know, people are just so off in like how much they actually play the game that, you know, they'll probably find it easier. Second point is, it's absolutely not in Blizzard's interest to make like the new hero like predatory, or like make it like difficult to attain. Like they want you to like get the hero. And so if, you know, 55 is too long, if it takes too much time, I agree with you, Joss. I am very inclined to believe that they will lower that for future seasons if they see fit, you know, whether
they
that's
will have the amount
45.
of fucking data that they have on like players, and I've spoken to a few people about this within Blizzard, about the amount of fucking player data they have is just unbelievable. And to be fair, that probably goes for every single game out there, especially free-to-play games, because free-to-play games, there's like, especially if you buy the battle pass, there's like an incentive for you to play because you want to unlock the premium shit and the cosmetics and all that kind of stuff. Blizzard already have a lot of that. And I would say going on the model that Overwatch 1 is currently on, or like was, I guess, with the loot boxes, which are no longer on sale, it was not the most egregious system with loot boxes and like the frequency in which you got them and the coins and stuff. Would you say it's more egregious than most other pay for games without boxes out?
Well, I had this conversation on stream. I don't want to go there on this podcast, but like I had this conversation that like loot boxes are like largely out of the gaming space.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for a
yeah,
good reason.
I think Overwatch came in at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's the thing. I was actually watching your stream, Johnny, and I think you said something that I think like resonated with me, which was, as much as it sucks, having the hero in the battle pass is a necessary evil of making the game a successful live service game. And like, as much as, here's the thing, the people are complaining who are like, what? They put it at level 55. I want to not buy the battle pass and not play 20 hours of Overwatch in 9 weeks. Why are they not catering the game to me? It's like, you are not the target audience that they're trying to build the game around. You are not the people that is going to like, you're not the majority of the player base, which are going to be investing a lot of time and money into their game. So it's like, why would they massively cater to you? That's a shitty reality to realize. But also remember, if you are someone who is not playing 20 hours over 9 weeks, you are not going to put any money into this game. You are still able to play Overwatch and experience all the cool things and the free things that they're going to introduce into the game. And they will continue to introduce these things into the game because it is a live service game and other people will put money into it. So I understand there are people that are upset. I personally feel like the people who are the most upset are people who don't understand how battle pass models work and how they have been incredibly lucrative and successful for other games in the industry. If you look at every other big title that exists right now in the gaming space, in terms of multiplayer, this is how they work.
And looking at the content within the battle pass that Blizzard are doing, Scott, obviously you play Apex with me a fair bit, and like I've been playing a fuck ton, dude. If I can't play Overwatch ranked, I'm playing Apex like 10 times out of fucking 10. Like no tomorrow. Yeah, seriously, it's a fun game and it's free to play. Obviously in the battle pass, I get currency in the battle pass and then buy the next battle pass. It's pretty sick. But the cosmetics that Blizzard have put in already, or like not put in, I guess, or that we've seen so far, infinitely better than ones in Apex. Like the Apex weapon skins that you get in the battle pass are fucking shit. Like the only good weapon skins are the legendary ones in the battle pass, which are like at the very end, or there's a couple of skins in there as well. Sometimes there's only one, maybe there's two. I know for this one there's two legendary skins, one for Wraith, one for Fuse, I believe, or Caustic. And like they're good, but like there's only a few points in that I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. With Blizzard one, it seems a little bit more generous in terms of quality of cosmetics, weapon charms, and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to play, a little bit of devil's advocate as well, because like this is the game launch. This is the first battle pass. You almost like have to spice it up, but it's all about the live service part of the Overwatch, right? And it's always been for the past year now. Like, how are they actually going to treat it as a live service game? Like when we're in season 7, next year, is the battle pass still going to be as epic as this first one? Which I kind of doubt. Like pumping out that level of quality content over and over again for every battle pass, and like the seasons, they're pretty rapid this time around. Like they're going to be pretty rapid. So I very much agree that this first battle pass, it looks like a ton of value for the price of the premium. If you can afford the money, I know everyone can't afford, buying a battle pass, for example. But we'll have to see how it goes down the line, because I'm a bit skeptic in that regard. We'll have to see if they pump up the quality stuff.
A small counterpoint to that, Johnny, is that they've just done like a hiring spree, and like the Overwatch team is as big as it's ever been.
Sure.
If
Or, like,
if they
close to
print
it.
money, you better believe they're gonna hire more people to make more content, right? Like that's just how it is. Like if they can prove that it's justifiable to put this level of content and they can make money off of it, like they will.
Yeah, I mean, this is a conversation that's just pure speculation. I hate having these. But, like, you know, we are getting PvE in 2023, and they did mention that in blog posts. Like, we can't wait to share more about PvE in 2023 as well. Hopefully, with all this hiring they've done, they actually have, like, a dedicated, like, PvP battle pass, you know, new maps kind of team, and then, like, a team that works strictly on PvE maps, PvE content, PvE, you know, talent trees, whatever. They just have so much stuff there, right? So hopefully they're able to like balance both modes at the same time and both in regard. We got to move on though. We got a long show here today. There was one point I wanted to talk about that they also mentioned in the blog post, that they're doing a bit of a change in hero design philosophy. Avast, you agreed with this and you like this very much. They're moving away from hard counters quite a bit. So they did outline specifically, for example, in Overwatch 1, something that would usually happen in games was that you would have like Cassidy's, for example, being able to counter tracers with the flashbang. It was a pure counter pick. And this happened in so many different roles, so many different heroes. It was a bit of a counter game. They're changing that up going into Overwatch 2. They're looking to have heroes be more, there's a word for this. I can't figure it out. But more similar to each other. They can, they generalize. They can do more different stuff to like, you know, stand by themselves. They have sustain, deal damage, all this kind of stuff. So moving away from a bit of a hard counter philosophy to more of a bit of a general hero philosophy. And you like this, Avast.
I mean, dude, apparently a lot of people like this because I highlighted it and like then the tweet went fucking omega viral and then like then I was getting all in rando people being like, well, how are you gonna counter Fair Mercy without Cassidy if you lock heroes behind? And I was like, so whenever an Overwatch tweet goes too big about balance, you realize that like, holy shit, there was a bunch of people that are just in a different universe like than what you're like talking about currently. But yeah, I did really like it because it was exactly my point of what I wanted to do when I talked about like how they monetize heroes is that you can't monetize heroes if you don't make heroes generalists, right? You just can't do it because otherwise you do run into situations where heroes are going to be required to win at times in terms of meta, right? Like if they're too specific, if they only have one type of kit. But if you make a generalized set of heroes and all these heroes can apply to certain roles and like do various different things well, that means if certain heroes, like you don't initially unlock them, right? When you're grinding on the free battle pass, or maybe you choose if you come into the game like 3 years later or something, and there's a bunch of heroes you need to unlock. You pick like, okay, I'm going to pick these ones and I'm going to let these sit because it's fine if I don't have them right now, which is kind of like the Valorant model, the League model. So I do think that this is like a far better solution to not only their monetization in terms of making it more fair, but also general game balance because it's been the bane of everyone's existence for a twofold reason. When A, they didn't create enough heroes, but B, the heroes they did create were so specific that they were far too meta defining and the issues with balance that creates because you're dealing with the specific that problem that one hero creates. And there's just not enough heroes to like deal with all the other implications of like that. Like D.Va's too strong. Well, we don't have another hero that kind of does D.Va role. So like we have to fine tune D.Va, but then D.Va's role, because she's so specific, affects the rest of the comps in the meta. And it just like goes on and on and on. But like having a bunch of like overlapping hero roles and like strengths allows you to balance more effectively and to monetize more effectively. So
a knock-on effect from that is that it's going to make Overwatch League and like pro play more varied too. If there's more generalist heroes out there, you will see people that prefer hero X to hero Y, but they both kind of do the same thing, little differences here and there, which is also a big benefit because, yeah, obviously we've seen with the Junker Queen meta, people are pretty bored at this point, which is not really surprising when you have the same 5 heroes kind of running at each other 24/7. So, yeah, I think it's good for the Overwatch League system too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think anything like the counter heroes of like Brig that happened when it's like we're going to introduce Brig to kill Tracer and then Brig like broke the game. Like I agree. I think it's just a better direction for the game to go. I think it's cool that they're recognizing that and actually speaking out about that. So excited to see if they can actually apply that level of, I guess, what they're going for, and if they can actually do that, because I think that's very difficult to add a generalized hero like always, because it feels like I feel like it's easy to miss the mark.
Yeah, I mean, there'll probably be some kind of special characters coming into play. But I also like that it plays to like the strength of Overwatch as a franchise, which is the fact that we have amazing characters with amazing lore and personality. And if you actually talk to most people that play Overwatch, they have like favorite heroes. Like for example, my fiance, she's just like, I love playing Orisa and Diva. And it's just like, okay, well, you know, yeah, she only wants to play those characters. So if those characters were viable and they were like really good, that would make her gameplay experience better, for example. And this happens to everyone, like, you know, whether it's me playing Reinhardt in like a dive meta, or, you know, all that kind of stuff, like being able to enable all these different personalities and different characters within the space, and not have being told like you queue into a ranked game, it's just like, this hero sucks, like you can't play this hero. It's not good for Overwatch. So I'm a big fan of this as well. It is going to mean, though, that we'll have a few characters to probably come out and just like absolutely like triumph some of the prior characters coming out. Like, for example, you know, like
right?
Winston is already outdated. There might come a point where I'm like, oh my god, we might have some proper memes coming out with like, you know, simple.
I don't think Winston's outdated though. How is Winston outdated? Winston's they've just released heroes that have like way too overtuned kits. Not that Winston's kit is bad. Just the other kits were way too blown up.
Sure, but I'm saying like overtuned kits, I think will become like the norm.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it's like the idea of power creep, right? It's like Winston's not bad, but he doesn't have as much stuff in him, right? Winston jump, Winston zap, Winston prime, or Winston die, right? Like that's the meme. Like that's what he does. You compare that to new heroes consistently coming out. They have just. There's more unique flavor to them. Like you look at Kiriko's healing kit in comparison to, I don't know, like someone like a Mercy, right? Like she does so much and she has so much like stuff in it that's sort of what I think. But that's standard with every single video game that ever exists. Is you're always trying to innovate and make cooler new stuff.
On the it was like a point a little bit earlier on, like people not really understanding how battle passes and stuff like that work. Like I don't know if those people have ever played League of Legends before in their lives. Yeah. Like some of the kits in League are fucking ridiculous. Like there was a point where I know I'm going to lose a lot of the Overwatch heads out there in the chat right now, but like there was a point in time where like Nidalee was the only character with seven abilities, because you could transform into a tiger and then transform back into human. But then now they have. What's that fucking
Viego.
Scott? You know this.
He knew.
Like
2 seconds. Viego is the echo of League of Legends.
Ridiculous, dude. Like he has a billion fucking abilities, bro, and like that always happens because the technology in general in games gets better, and like you need to kind of keep innovating and just making sure things feel fresh and new, and then you get characters like Viego that are just ridiculous. Yeah. Aphelios is the other one, yes, who has 3 different weapons that all do different things, that can combo. 4 different weapons that can combo with different things. Your fucking abilities do different things, so that it's the most confusing character of all time. And like even the pro players when it first came out were like, "Holy fuck, this is confusing." And the casters didn't know this was really funny, but the casters didn't know the names for the combo weapons and like switching and shit like that on day one, because it was just too much to learn. So I hope Overwatch doesn't go that way. But making more generalized heroes obviously is going to kind of counter that in some regard. But yeah, I mean, I don't know where I was going with this, but that was it.
No, that was a great point. Always good to have some League of Legends Riot content. I'll put that in the YouTube tags, and maybe we can get some more SEO on YouTube.
Okay, I'm sorry for bringing it up, but it's all in general, like,
I mean, a lot of people do lack perspective, though, right? Like, unironically, when people were talking about like a lot of times it happens when a lot of discussion with Overwatch, because a lot of people, this is their first esport, which is not like it happens to every esport, right? Where like it's someone's first esport they experience, their first game, they're really in. Like people like, yeah, Overwatch League failed because they were the first franchise league. I'm like, well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Like, I think you're missing something here. There's a lot of times where people just live in a bubble, I think, within their own community. It's not Overwatch specific. A lot of games, they all live in their own bubble, and they don't know much about what's happening in the outside world.
Yeah. So. I mean, Overwatch at this point is 6 years old. Or 7 if you include open or closed beta. I'm like, holy shit, I'm old. I feel old sometimes. Just been stuck to this game for 7 years. So I do want to have a bit of a wish list, because there's a lot of exciting content coming out. There's skins, there's new maps, there's new heroes, etc. So I'm going to present this. We know that there's new heroes, there's new game modes coming out. If you had to make a wish? Would it be like new push maps? Would it be maybe like new escort maps? Would it be the tank damage support? What future battle passes? It could be even mythical skins, like, you know, mythical skins. What mythical skin you want to see? What's on your wish list for future battle passes? What would make you excited?
I'll go first because I don't think people are going to like what I'm going to say is I hope.
Oh shit, get ready the clips.
I hope that there are mythical skins that go into the shop that are like one-time purchase, like, and like FOMO. I want there to be really cool things that I feel like people get hyped up to buy and that they get excited by when they put it on for years to come. Because one of the big issues that exists in Overwatch, in my opinion, is they have a ton of cool skins, but none of them are unique because everyone has them available and everyone just has them, right? But if you start having things that are limited time purchases, they start becoming very unique to have them. And that makes you have more pride and more excitement about them and stuff like that. That's what happens in Valorant. That's what happens in League and that kind of stuff is it becomes these unique things that you can attach to your play. And then you'll see someone has that skin. You'll talk about it. You'll message them. It's cool. And that kind of stuff.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Pink
Sorry,
Mercy
I
and the
interrupted
BlizzCon skins. They are the only ones that are in right now.
Yeah, those epic skins. Whoa, yeah, no.
They're cool. What do you mean?
Cool. So
they're not that
to that
cool.
point.
Okay, yeah.
The thing is though, it depends on like how you attain it, right? So for example, I don't know, I saw some video on YouTube. It was like a new $900 skin in like some gacha game or whatever. I don't know. It's like, okay, do you want to spend $900 on a skin? Probably not. Then there's like the time thing, you know, like me playing a lot of WoW Classic. It's like there's a lot of time investment stuff there, but there's no skill behind it. So you get it, and it's just like, oh well, this dude just played fucking WoW Classic for 1,000 hours. Good job. You know, he's a nerd. Fuck that dude. But then there's the skill component, which, you know, most people can't get it. I think actually the best way to do this is like the Call of Duty route, where like the old Call of Duty games, where it's like get 300 headshots with like, you know, the M4 or whatever, and you're like,
no, because then people will cheat the system, and that stuff doesn't matter. Like, as I said, I know it's a shitty take from me because it's like just put in your credit card info and then like look at my pride and accomplishment of me having this skin.
I have money IRL.
I feel like if this does go on for 5 years, all of a sudden, if you bought that super cool mythic skin, like mythic Tracer skin, right, that goes through the shop that was only there for a thing, all of a sudden that becomes like something that you love, and then you can spend that money on the hero that you really care about and that you can enjoy that skin. And I just think the problem is just when you give everyone everything and it's no longer a limited purchase, there's no FOMO, there's no that kind of stuff, all of a sudden you lose that sense of uniqueness in the game.
You would want them to like block out the Genji skin. We're like, you're getting the mythic Genji
if
skin.
you don't get this battle pass, you should not get this battle. You should never get the Genji again. Maybe it will have it in like, they'll have it like the vault or like the black market, like they do in like League and Valorant, where it's like, it'll come back through for certain people every now and then, and you'll have to buy it. But if you don't get that battle pass Genji skin, you should not be able to get it. Like, that's the whole point of this system, is that it incentivizes you to buy the battle pass and to play the game so that you don't miss out on this skin. And if you didn't get it, then damn, you didn't get it. You're not going to be able to get that again. You'll have to wait for another skin that you really love.
That is how every battle pass works in like most games, right? I mean, like I said, I'll bring up Apex again, but the Apex legendary skins and the legendary weapon skins at the very end of the battle pass, which is like the Genji mythic skin, right? I could assume it's at the end of the battle pass. Did they confirm that? I'd assume it is. But it's like, oh, this gun is like very unique. It has animations to it. Same with the Genji skin. Like it looks fucking sick. That will probably end up happening. And I don't personally, I don't like the idea of like the black market thing, Scott, just because, yeah, it does.
No, because there should be, because that makes the black market super cool, right? Of like, you're only going to get one mythic skin, right? And you don't get to choose which mythic skin it is. They just give you a random one, maybe based on what you play. Like, let's say I play a lot of Mercy. There was a mythic skin 2 years ago that I didn't get. Every time that black mark comes out, I'm hoping I get that Mercy mythic skin. And then if I do, I'm going to be popping off when I get it. And
I heard you say this. You want people to log into the game daily.
And yeah, but that's what a store does as well, is every day your store will update to a personalized version of yourself, right? And your skins that you would want. That gives you reason to log into the game, which is what they're looking for, right? They want to incentivize you to log into the game every day and then look at your store, see if you want to buy something, right? People can hate this and be like, this is bought for business. This is just Custa selling out to the corporations. This is what makes successful games. This is how a game prints money, and this is how a game has longevity in the long run, because that is a business model that incentivizes Blizzard to do these kind of things.
All right. Jaws and Avast, do you have anything on the wish list? What would you like to see in the battle passes or future seasons to make the game a little more fun, better for you guys?
Does it have to be more generalist?
It could be like, whatever you want.
Literally whatever. Here's what I'm gonna say.
New game modes, I don't care.
I think the current system they're doing, for the most part, I like everything they're doing with it. I think they're getting a lot of value for the battle pass. It's stuff for like Kiriko. Like if you have Overwatch 1, you're getting Kiriko for free on launch, by the way, if you already owned Overwatch 1. I think a lot of people are forgetting that fact as well. That like it's like an incentive for you owning Overwatch 1, you get Kiriko for free. But for me, like on a longer scale thing, I would want them to integrate Overwatch League if it stays in its current model, right? If they plan to commit to this system for a bit, they need to do what Valorant does and integrate them further into the actual game. Like they need to be like on certain, like you should be able to have like certain cool skins that support like your favorite team. We sort of have that with the Overwatch League tokens model, right? Is like watching Overwatch League get the tokens. There should be like even separate like legendary skins. There should be the ability to like further customize your character. You should be able to like there just should be more integration, I think, into the game itself. I want to see something else that would be loved to do, in-game tournaments. In-game tournaments would be amazing. It's what Valorant's planning to do. It's literally no stakes. Like here, like you and your friends sign up, come play a tournament. You can win some prize money. There's no stakes attached necessarily. It's literally just like you guys can play in a tournament for fun, right? And then like it can lead to a larger system. That leads into open division. That leads into contenders, so on and so forth, right? We make like that sort of system involved. Now, I do think the problem I have, the one issue with that comparatively is that because of how Overwatch League currently works, like the grind, you don't, even if you win everything, you don't necessarily make it to Overwatch League, right? But theoretically, it's like by winning stuff, you do get picked up to Overwatch League at the end of the day, right? And you win money from tournaments and playing the tournament. Like, I want to see a lot more integration between the competitive system into the game, right? I'm not saying they have to like cater to anyone, but like casuals can enjoy a tournament. It doesn't have to be like, oh, the Overwatch League tournament, right? It's just like an in-game.
Yeah,
Overwatch
I think if you're a fan
League,
of Overwatch Esports, Overwatch League, you want a reason to click on the Overwatch League tab.
Yeah.
And like go there.
They need to have just further integration. They need to have like some abilities with their skins, because you can have different tiers of skins and such, right? Where it's like, oh, like you can do the same thing with like your Overwatch League token skins and like with Overwatch related memorabilia.
Yeah.
And you can have more cosmetics related to that. In addition to that, you can have your in-game tournaments, which can appeal to casuals because it's not necessarily Overwatch League. It's just in-game tournaments. And it's like, oh, by the way, if you do well in this tournament, like you can get like into this, like you can go into this next division for like actual like competitive play of like open division, contenders, etc. Like it's just like a way to get people started and interested in playing. And even if it doesn't end up in them actually competing and like going on trying to become a pro or anything like that, it's like gains their interest and that gives people stuff to do. It literally gives your friends something to do. It's like, hey, do you want to go play in this tournament that has like a $10,000 prize pool that we can just sign up and play in a thing in game? You know, it's like, yeah, why not? You know, because like it could just be like there's all sorts of different methods there to integrate, which I think like currently there's only one game doing it in the entire world, and not even like League does it. It's Valorant. Valorant literally is just like paving the way for like
no, League do that too.
Integration. Do they? I feel like Valorant.
They do Clash.
They do Clash. Oh, that's right. They do
system.
Clash. I forgot about Clash. Yeah. So yeah, stuff like that. Like I just want them to be, because it's not just about esports. It's also about giving your players on the PvP side extra content for them just to feed in, just to be able to do it. Like it's not about feeding into the esports. It's literally just giving people more things to do within the client. And like it means that people will actually care about. I also want to see more incentives for doing well in ranked. I want to see like if you get high MMR, you should get like the fucking jacket like League does. You should get like a jacket.
Dude, people would lose their mind if you tried.
I know.
The fucking casuals would be like the bronze.
I don't give a
casuals
shit.
would be. I know. I'm with you. I think
care.
there should be. But
cool the thing is, they can get like stuff for like competing in the game too. People should get like there should still be other incentives. But like pretty much the whole point of this system they're moving toward is that there should be way more incentives and cool things in the game that when people interact and play your game, they are rewarded for playing your game. Like. That's why, like, I understand some people are like, I don't want to have to put more time to it because I haven't been rewarded for playing Overwatch, right? Which is like, this system should be rewarding you for playing the game. But also, Overwatch fans, alert. I'm sorry to have to tell you, you will have to play Overwatch to receive rewards.
No, okay.
You must play Overwatch.
I'm no longer buying Overwatch 2. I refuse to play it.
You must play it. But if you do play it, you can receive things. Trade offer. So that I do think that like overall they need to be putting way more like just incentives and skins for like doing well in ranked leaderboards. Hey, playing in fucking arcade mode, which by the way, all the new heroes are going to be free in arcade mode. You don't have to play comp. You can just play in arcade, play the heroes.
I played some Capture the Flag yesterday. That mode is lit.
Wouldn't it be cool if, like, even if it's not ranked, right? It's like, oh, you got the most wins in a season, so you get like a special skin, right? Like, it's just like things like that where you're able to do this with a new to where you can reward players for playing your game and giving them cool things. And like, that's what we should be doing with this new system, is incentivizing people to play your game. And so hopefully that's what they do. My literally an overhaul of everything they've done. I'm hoping they're all working towards that, essentially.
You want there to be more cool things involved with Overwatch. For the longest time.
I just want them to make people want to play their game.
Yeah, it's been pretty stale, and it's obvious that they've cut down some of the live service stuff in favor of the release of Overwatch 2. But we want like exciting stuff, or like people are like, whoa, like on Twitter or whatever news articles, just like, whoa, Overwatch is doing this. This is cool. Like, we want more of that stuff. I think it's obvious at this point. Jaws, I don't want to leave you hanging. Well, what do you want? What's on your wish list? What do you want to? What do you want to see?
Just to add on to that point, what would be really cool actually if they did, we got the team sprays already. If they did voice line sprays.
Voice line sprays.
Voice line sprays. Yeah, voice line is crazy, bro. So you click on it, it plays the sound. That'd be sick. No, it would be cool to have little voice lines for the characters too. That also helps support the teams. It's like you fucking hit the voice line key and it goes, "Let's go Dallas, fuel," or some shit.
That's actually a great idea.
Dude, it just more integration, just like more little pieces to help monetize the league, and shit like that. I think it'll be awesome. I do definitely agree with Connor. More fucking ranked rewards, because holy shit, once you get that top 500 logo or the shiny one and the fucking moving spray, like people don't really care anymore. And like competitive points too. I hope they do something with competitive points, because they are fucking useless for like the majority of people at this point in time. I remember way back when, and you'll probably remember this, Johnny. Did you even stream in 2016, 2017? I can't.
Yeah, I probably
Scott definitely fucking did. Yeah, but how many times way back then in fact, I got asked this too. What gold weapon skins have you got? Like, no one gives a shit about that anymore. Yeah,
I was going through it recently. There's like 6 I'm missing. Like, and once again, it goes back to the fact of it is no longer unique to have a gold skin. They're just everywhere.
And initially, that was kind of fucking cool, seeing someone with a gold weapon. And it was like, oh, wow, they've got a gold weapon on Cassidy, a Tracer, whatever the fuck. One of my accounts has like 16,000 competitive points. I don't give a fuck about gold skins. I got gold skins on my main account, my other side account. Like, I don't give a shit anymore. I want that to turn into something else too, because rewards. Go on, Johnny. Maybe competitive points to buy a fucking skin or something.
I'll offer you an idea. What if you could like prestige the golden guns, so you could like level it up? So you could instead of just like golden gun is like level 1, but then you could have like level 5, where it's like you have some fucking spatial like Jupiter shit going on, and it's just like stars and it's shining.
It doesn't even have to be like that, right? Where it goes fucking sicko mode. It could be like Black Ops 2, I think it was, where you could like you said, prestige the guns. And then you get the diamond camo for whatever the fuck. And it just anything that will incentivize people to play, but also play competitive. And competitive points are probably one of the better ways of like rewarding people, because it doesn't require you to win. Or wait, how does it work now? It's just the end of the season, right? It's just the end of the season. It used to be if you win, you get points. And then if you lose, you got 0. So more shit to do with that. Either a ranked skin that costs 5,000 points or 10,000 or something that just makes ranked a little bit more prestigious. When you get higher, you get more competitive points, etc. In terms of like battle pass shit, there's the cyberpunk theme, best aesthetic of all fucking time. God bless Blizzard Entertainment. I would love to see just super distinct themes. I think they're going to do that anyway, but like I was thinking about it this morning when I saw the rundown. I was like, okay, so what are my favorite kind of aesthetics and themes of all time? Cyberpunk is fucking one of them, if not the top. Obviously, I love fish, so like an underwater thing would be kind of sick. Like an ocean
there's
thing.
Some cool ones. Yeah.
Freshwater versus saltwater. Whoa, Talon, but fucking two different crazy Overwatch. I would go fucking crazy. Because Scott Sab DM'd me about the fucking aquarium skins in Valorant. I was like, I play Valorant maybe really once every 3 months. And like, I was like, that's actually pretty sick. I really enjoy that. It's obviously very unique to myself. But I'm sure a lot of other people would like that kind of shit. And I was also thinking like along the lines of my favorite games of all time. I'm like, okay, Rome Total War is fucking sick. I love that game. Maybe like some sort of Roman Colosseum like kind of vibe with gladiators. We've already got a Gladiators Doom skin. Why not just kind of go from there? Maybe Reinhardt's a fucking legionary cohort with like a almost esque Roman shield. Same with Brig. That'd be kind of fucking sick. And just kind of, yeah, this is just me fucking riffing now. But yeah, I hope they just do very distinct different seasons and you can tell exactly what season you got that shit from. Yeah, I haven't really got much else that people haven't already listed, but there's some cool themes that I came up with this morning.
Johnny, we have 2 super chats, by the way.
Oh, we do have 2 super chats? All right.
Do you want me to read one of them?
Oh, yeah, Custa, you read them, right. Yeah,
welcome
I'm
to
producing over here.
Super chats. Okay, we got one from Asterisk. I think this was a while ago, so this might we might have to go back a little bit. So, what's your take on Halo Infinite's Battle Pass system then? Once the pass is over, you can reselect it at a later date to level it up instead of the current one. This is something that Dead by Daylight sort of did the same thing. Oh, well, maybe it's in a different way, but it's like, it's a cool idea. I like the idea of being able to go back because it's, like Connor said, it incentivizes you to play the game. If you miss that battle pass, you can just go back, but you have to play the game to get there. I think it's a cool idea. Definitely something they could mess around with.
So what would you get when you prestige it? Like the second time around?
No, you don't prestige it. What happens is, let's say I don't finish the first season battle pass and the second season battle pass comes out. And then for that, whatever reason, I play a ton. I finish the second season battle pass. I can go back and play the season 1 battle pass because I finished the season 2 one. And then I can level that up and choose that. I think it's an interesting idea. I think it hurts sort of the model of the idea that it's sort of like the FOMO aspect of like incentivizing people to play right then. I think it's a good thing to get.
As long as you buy it, you know.
Yeah, if you're buying it. I guess that's it. If you've bought it, then you should be able to complete it. Yeah,
if you buy it, you should be able to. I agree. That's
if there's someone that starts playing Overwatch in a year for whatever reason, you know, maybe if they start playing in a year, I want them to have the opportunity to buy the season 1 battle pass as long as you pay for it. You know, support the game.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe actually.
I think they should be time gated though. You shouldn't be able to come back in. I don't think you should be able to join whenever and then buy a battle pass from like a year ago. But if you were there and you purchased the battle pass when it released, you should be allowed to complete it.
Yeah.
You should
logged on during the original battle pass.
Yeah,
that's also a cool incentive as like a thing of like it justifies spending that $10 of like even if I can't finish it in 9 weeks, I can't play that much Overwatch. I can spend my $10 and I know I can come back to it at a later time.
Would you lock the mythic skin behind you had to be there? Like you had to be.
I think that's what Custa talked about.
I think that's part of the benefit of time gating is that the reality is like the part of the value of skins is exclusivity, right?
Yeah.
And like it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be like, even if you don't complete within time, but you paid for the battle pass, right? You should be able to go back and complete it because you paid for the battle pass at the time, but you still have to be there to get the skin, right? You still should be able to be there because otherwise, what's the value of the skin? Is the thing.
Exactly, yeah.
That's kind of a fundamental point of like cosmetics is like for most cosmetics, for like releasing them in a market side of sale or a battle pass system, the value of them is the exclusivity. And sure, I think you should be able to complete them later. I think it's a nice idea from the Halo system, but you should still be there to be able to access it initially.
Yeah. All right. You want to read the second super chat and then we'll move on?
Second super chat was from Arquiz. I don't know how to say that. This is literally only for Jack's idea. If my Gladskin Sigma had a voice line that said "Gladiators are rising," which is a call out to Gravity and Stonks, I'd lose my mind. And yeah, I think I completely agree. Like that's if they can. I think this is something that I hope Overwatch 2 does, and you know, hopefully with more money and resources, that we'll get more cross in-game cross with the Overwatch League and like. You know, shout outs to esports and that kind of stuff. They do it a lot in like Valorant and League of Legends. Like they should have an Overwatch League tab. They should be promoting the league when it's online. They should be doing all these kind of stuff. We've been asking for this stuff for years. Obviously, we've kind of been in a black hole of Overwatch 1, but I hope they have the ability to go those directions.
I hate to be the devil's advocate again, but I think we're just like a different game and different community and different franchise.
Johnny,
as well.
Don't take this away from me. God damn it. Like we should be the same game.
I look at what Valorant are doing. I look at like how much emphasis they put in their esports and how collaborative they are, and I'm like, damn. All right, well, you know.
I kind of agree with Johnny's point because you look at things like Valorant and it's like that game is for competitive play.
It's
Like, that game is
extremely competitive.
extremely competitive. And like looking at other Riot titles like League of Legends, especially like way back in the day, it wasn't, it's kind of a game you can jump in with your friends and kind of fuck around. Only if you've played for the last 10 years. Otherwise, good luck, because you have no champions. But I think Overwatch is kind of in that same vein, where it is a little bit more casual than things like Valorant. Although I would love to take the idea of like in-game advertisements for the league, like Valorant does. It was like, the champs banners and stuff like that. They do it with League of Legends now, where they have the World Cup banners. Like, whoa, holy shit! Oh, not World Cup, fucking World. Is what I mean. Oh my god, no way! There's Worlds is on. I would love that to be in the game too. Like, you go down to downtown Busan, for example, on the map, and there's a ton of billboards already, and you could have like a little Overwatch thing there, Overwatch League thing that says, fucking Summer Showdown starts in 3 days, or like has the dates.
Yeah,
that kind of integration I would also really like, because as much as I don't think it will drive a shit ton of viewership. It might inspire a couple of people to be like, oh shit, okay, that's on.
I will say,
not a
I
big
think
lift, right? Like, it shouldn't be a big lift to do that stuff.
Yeah, no.
Put a button in the game that like sends you to the fucking Overwatch League's like servers and just says live when we're live. Like, that's basic.
Technically, something like that is literally just a texture. Like, you can reach out. There's a lot more that goes onto it. I definitely understand that, especially with like legal and shit like that too. We know how that can be. But technically, it's just a texture, so it would be good to get some in-game advertising for the league, especially like around grand finals time, like playoffs. Like, dude, fucking slap that shit everywhere, wherever you can kind of fit it.
This is another conversation. We really have to move on, because we gotta picture. But I
just got 3 hours.
I do agree with you. I agree with you in a sense that I think in the current way of things, Overwatch Esports, meaning Overwatch League, is like the closest gateway Overwatch has for like a real world event or something cool going on in real life outside of the game, that fans of the franchise and the game can be, be motivated to attend or enjoy outside of playing the game themselves in that regard. For example, League of Legends, they had like the Netflix show, and they have tons of other stuff going on that is like pop culture, right? And Fortnite, for example, whether it's like the Marvel stuff or bringing in, music artists and, sports stuff, like there's some NFL partnership. I think Overwatch has nothing going of that kind currently. So Overwatch Esports is almost the closest we have to something going on a real life schedule that's not just locked to people playing quick play and fucking mystery heroes. Like, so in that way, yes, I'd like to see a way to like funnel people's interest into other areas of Overwatch outside of just playing the game themselves, and I think Overwatch Esports is that. Anyway, you gotta move on. There's a new fucking hero. No, shut up, Joss. There's a new hero. Kiriko. There's a new hero. This just looks like an amazing hero, really. So, we're going to talk about Kiriko, announced, of course, for the Overwatch League playoffs later on. And also we can discuss her kit a little bit. But first of all, just initial impressions, we saw a bit of a gameplay kind of trailer. It was announced during some event in Japan, I think. And that's why, of course, she's a Japanese hero. And so I think it was a local, a Tokyo game show. So first impressions of Kiriko. Love, hate, anything goes, really.
I think she is super sick. I think her kit is really interesting, something unlike any support that we've seen before. Like, it is going to be, honestly, it's probably the most support-like hero like Lucio that we've ever seen, in terms of you will be moving around the map a lot and you're going to need to be moving. I think she's going to be stupidly difficult to play, and I think it's going to take I love all these gold players being like, I want to play Kiriko. It's probably for the best that you don't have Kiriko, because I think she's going to be a hard int off the bat when people first start putting their hands on her, because we know the left click is like, you're only really getting a ton of damage out if you're hitting headshots, which looks like it's going to be quite difficult. And then you also need to be close to your teammates to heal them, so you're going to need to be following everyone. It'll be interesting. She looks super fun. I think her skill ceiling is going to be crazy high, but I think her skill floor is also going to be very high, which is going to be hard for a lot of people. So I think realistically, in the long run, she'll be a hero that like some people specialize, but I think most people won't play.
I think in general, that's a good thing. We've talked about this in the podcast before, where you do need entry-level heroes that are easier to play. Still a little bit difficult to master. You can take the old like Mercy's. You can take Mercy as the kind of the perfect example. She's pretty in herself. She's pretty basic to play. You hold left click to heal people. You hold right click to do damage boost. You have a res and you have a glide. But then came in like the skill aspect of it. Pop in GA at the right time. Your super jump to, which is easier now. But you know, still a skill you need to kind of master. You can really tell like good Mercies from like kind of beginner Mercies where like their movement is, you're like, holy shit, how do I fucking hit this person? Like it's impossible. Having someone like Kiriko is kind of awesome to have that skill floor pretty high up. She looks fucking crazy. I think you can that it's going to take people a long time to get used to her kit, especially like with the teleport and stuff like that. But god damn, when she has played well, especially what was it, John? It's like, oh, you've got it written here, 3x crit headshot. You are going to see some pros just kind of go fucking crazy. Like imagine Shu on this hero. His aim is already really fucking good. Imagine him just kind of like soloing, and her ability to like solo DPS heroes is ridiculous. If you are good, if you are bad, then you're going to get rolled every single fucking time. But I love it. I love the idea, and I love the aesthetic too. I think it's fucking sick. The invulnerability thing is a bit sussy, I will say, but it depends obviously on the cooldown.
Seems like
and
a
like
short
how long
window
that lasts.
And it's a skill shot,
which is
so
great.
I think that's going to be hard to like. You know, they showed it of like, oh, a slow Riptire coming towards me. Let me just slowly stand and shoot it down on the ground next to my
the
3 units.
easiest fucking ability, bro, to dodge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can shoot that shit. Good Riptires obviously separate from bad Riptires, and there's very rarely, especially in high rank games, do you get a Riptire actually succeeding unless it's fucking the J silly, you know, hidden around the corner in your spawn doors, just hitting you with a Riptire off spawn.
So I want to hold my horses a little bit here, because there's a lot of parts about her kit that we probably should take a quicker look at. Custa mentioned, of course, it's a very high skill hero for a lot of different reasons, but I want to start out with the 3x critical headshot. So it seems like the regular sort of like damage range thing is like pretty mediocre, like not a ton of damage, whatever. But the real reward is hitting the headshot, because then you get a 3x multiplier rather than 2x multiplier. And that's where you make the real damage. Avast, you can chime in here as well. Do we think this is good for the game? Or do we think that the random element of this, for example, people unintentionally hitting headshots and just like, oh, I just fucking beam that guy and just get owned. Maybe it's a bit too like scatter shot like, where it's like you deal like a lot of damage in a burst that's not entirely predictable? Or do we think that this is just great? Like more skill-based heroes, especially supports, need to be added to the game. More skill-based heroes. Fuck the casuals.
I mean, like, well, the thing is the likelihood of, obviously the likelihood, I think it's very different than a scatter shot, and there's less players on the field to randomly receive damage as well. There's a lot more geometry in the map that is like people can utilize now, and there's less players filling the map, and also that means there's less likely that you're going to be randomly hit with spam too, right? Like it's kind of like how it works in many ways when you have less bodies on the field too. So I like the direction overall with it. I think her kit is engaging. I think her kit's fun. I'm interested to see how strong she is moving forward. And like obviously anything that's an invulnerability and can also cleanse, but not just cleanse like anti-heal, as we can see with some of her kit, but you have the ability to cleanse like earth shatter. No. So someone's like shattered.
No. They actually came out and said that.
Oh, they fixed that?
Shatter.
That was wrong?
It was like shatter, sleep, and
that can't be cleansed.
And a hack can't be cleansed, from what I'm aware.
How the fuck can't you wake up someone from sleep just to like give him a slap on the face?
I
like,
think it's supposed to be for like anti more than anything, I think.
Okay, great. Well, that's still okay, fine. I mean, honestly, that's actually that does make it a little bit more. I think that makes it a lot better, because like the ability to give it invulnerability and also cleanse like a earth shatter would be a little strong, I think, or like cleanse a sleep. But because the invulnerability is already strong in itself, I'm glad that they clarified that, because that was a little much for me. But everything else about our kit, I'm interested. It's more so like we're gonna have to see it work in action, because we've seen gameplay from the newest developer blog. We've seen some more snippets.
Never mind.
Oh, it can?
Oh, it can
okay.
sleep. That's
me
it.
when I spread misinformation on the internet.
Yeah. So I'm also just spreading it. I got told by someone else, but yeah, that's fine. I know it doesn't cleanse everything, but that's
okay. Because I definitely seen it. Definitely cleanse nade is what I've definitely seen it. Cleanse.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can add sleep to the list. Supposedly, we can add sleep to the list. The earth shatter is apparently still off the table. Okay.
What I'm hearing from other people,
originally, I thought I saw gameplay that Earthshatter did get cleansed, so I'm like,
really? Oh yeah. Well, I could be talking about. I from what I heard from other people is that I heard that because they intentionally said on like the graphic that it said cleanses. It says cleanses most sources or something like that, and I was like, what doesn't it cleanse? And people came in and said it was like Shatter and Hack were like the two that they said.
What's this on Reddit?
No, this is a much more reliable source of my Twitch chat.
Your Twitch chat.
But I had multiple people confirming in my Twitch chat, which made me feel like they had a source. But okay, well, let's just listen to a boss, and I'm gonna retract all my statements.
pretty much everything's on the table. Also, this leads to a wider rant of how Overwatch dev team, please, for the love of God, elucidate your patch notes more. Like that's also like something I've been complaining about for 6 years now. Put numbers and put very specific.
Well, we don't even have the Kiriko like actual things, do we?
We don't have numbers.
Well, numbers, no.
That's the point. The point being, just be specific with your patch notes. I've been complaining about this for 6 years. Back when Bare Hands worked for Blizzard, I was yelling at Bare Hands about this. So like I've been complaining about this shit for 6 years. So that's a separate issue. It's like also actually tack that onto my wish list. Specific patch notes. When you say most things, cleanses most things, tell me what the things that cleanses are when you say that. Just tell us. Now, beyond that rant, now it's gone way off topic. I started to mauled.
No.
Overall, I like the rest of her kit. I think it's really cool. It's engaging. Also, something that a lot of people brought up, I think that was specific was like, so let's say theoretically, like, we're worried about, I think a lot of people are still worried about the power of like for example, like the specific heroes we have leading in from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2. So like Brigitte, right? Brigitte is still pretty much the only hero that was able to individually target like flanking DPS really easily with her packs. They showed in the newest developer blog that the way her heal works is that you can actually throw it at your allies and the heal will follow them before they take damage, and then once they take damage it will heal them, which to me kind of fills that Brigitte pack role, which is nice because it shows that they're already thinking about like, here are some of the niches that these heroes that currently exist fill. We need to solve that moving forward. And Kiriko is already sort of solving that here with Brigitte and being able to individually pocket your DPS flanks, which is nice because then it's like, okay, now Brigitte is not a requirement to enable your Genji, to enable your Tracer, like to do a lot, to enable your Echo, right? So that's already really great, I think, when I look at that design philosophy moving forward here, when I look at Kiriko. I think her teleport could potentially be honestly Omega busted. Depending on how it works. So that's another point of concern I have with her, is that you can target ability allies through walls, what they've shown, you can teleport to them. I don't exactly know the cooldown. I also don't know what the length of that is. Like, could I do it from across the fucking map? Like, let's say, for example, it's like let's say, for example, like, we have like a Tracer that flanks into the enemy team spawn on like a King's Row or something, and then your Kiriko teleports to the back line with the Tracer.
Don't think so. Close. It kind of feels like, I would say, length of like Mercy Beam if I was like everything that they've shown. So unless it's like much larger and they haven't shown it, I agree with you. The thing that I think will determine if it's busted, when they've shown her using the ability, she does the thing where she like goes up and like hovers, crosses her leg, and then she gets out and then she comes down. How long that animation takes to get into and out of will determine how like busted it is, right? If it's as seamless as a Tracer blink, then that's going to be crazy strong. But like if there's like a little bit of windup that you can't do it in the middle of combat, otherwise you'll give like a Cassidy like a free headshot or something like that. It'll really determine how strong I think that ability is.
If they have like the stall when you get rezzed as Mercy, when you're gold and you're like, oh fuck, like I'm getting rezzed, and then you just kind of stood there for like half a second and you can't do shit, and then you eventually come into your body, and then you start fighting again. Something like that. I don't know the exact length of time you're like in that little golden state, but something like that wouldn't be too bad to stop it from being a literal fucking blink through the wall. There has to be some level of
I mean, it's a cool engage tool, like, hey, I'm blinking forward to my teammate. But if you start making it like really annoying, where like you can disengage with it quickly without much punishment, I think that's where you're like really get into issues, like teleporting.
It feels like there's a wind up already, right? Like Scott said, she kind of gets up and crosses her legs and hovers or whatever the fuck it was, and then she
We'll have to see how it plays. Avast wants a definitive number. He wants like on the dot, like how long it takes to channel this ability.
I mean,
to
also, I
teleport
just
out.
want you to tell me if something cleanses stuns. What are the stuns it cleans? Which ones does it not cleanse? Just tell us. Tell us. Fuck.
More
Just tell us.
numbers that we could get is of course from the ultimate as well. That seems, you know, crazy as hell, especially if you use it on a narrow corridor. Essentially, just like it creates like a highway lane for you to get movement speed, attack speed. I don't know if it heals or whatever. We don't know any of this, but it seems I saw this ability and I was like, holy shit. It's an aerial Beyblade encourager, where it's like in the old Beyblade days, where it's like you get Nano gave movement speed and attack speed, and you just like Nano in your Reaper, and they just like fucking go ham. This is what I saw. Just like someone storming in as well, and just just storming in with your team and getting attack speed and everything. So
we have another super chat, Johnny. Someone puts in $2. Please, I beg of you to watch the dev update.
Well,
okay.
we're doing a podcast over here. We're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast. You want us to just pause,
7
watch
minutes?
a 7-minute developer update,
minutes.
and then just move on. This shit came out just before we started. We didn't have time. Okay, I understand you guys can watch it, but we can't just.
We understand. We literally just started the podcast. Like we can't just like, let's pause the podcast, guys. We're going to take 7 minutes here.
Everyone go take a sit, chill, yeah. Right. There's probably a lot of information that came in the developer update in terms of her kit that would be appreciated. If you guys know that shit, boom, go watch the developer update. You'll get the answer to the questions we're posing and we're talking about.
I literally just got a Discord DM from someone who works at Blizzard, and it's like, hey, you guys should watch the dev update. And I'm like,
Hey.
all right, guys, I'm closing down the podcast. We're closing it down. We'll be back in half an hour. No, I'm kidding. But we're not doing that.
I mean, we could just spend 7 minutes.
Maybe we don't
watching
talk
the
about
dev
Kiriko's
update.
abilities. Maybe we just move on because
Maybe we just move on. Maybe the dev update answers a lot of this. We haven't watched it yet because of the fact that it released literally when we went live. So
yeah, this is just fuel, okay? If you want to hear our thoughts on the dev update, listen to podcast next show, okay? We'll talk about it then, all right? You know, give us a like. Give us a like and a comment.
Then, Johnny. We need to break it.
Yeah, that's true. We need to break news. You know, counterpoint to Blizzard. Maybe release the content earlier in the day, all right? You know, maybe release it at 8:30 a.m.
Counterpoint, billion-dollar company. How about you release it around the Plat Chat podcast?
Exactly. All right. Look, okay, this is actually getting to a let's say. Anyway, it's fine.
Let's
It's
move
fine.
on, Johnny.
Sorry, guys, we didn't watch the dev update, but it literally started like as we went live here on YouTube. Okay, and we apologize for not lacking that critical information. There seems to be some cool concept art and cool art stuff though. So if you're into art, Go check out the dev update and all that good stuff. All right, now I'm going to do something that everyone at Blizzard will hate. So, you know, if you work at Blizzard, don't do this. Don't listen to the following minutes. All right, here's a fun little game for you. Let's play favorites. We got 3 new heroes coming out at the game launch. We got Junker Queen, we got Sojourn, and of course we have Kiriko coming out. So we got 3 new heroes coming out at the same time for us to play. And I want us to pick favorites here. Which of the 3 is our favorite and why? It could be everything. It could be the lore. It could be the kit. It could be the fact that you're a support player and there's a support character coming out, so you could be excited about that. But which one is your favorite when it comes to everything about the hero?
Okay, well,
it's so obvious.
It's not.
Okay, Jack is biased. It is 100% Kiriko, and I think most people would agree with us as well, because we have had more information, and you know, we've had more cinematics. There's been more cool things. There's been a lot of updates. So I think there's more reasons for people to be attached to Kiriko. Obviously, you know, Sojourn's a really cool character, and like, you know, they all are. But I think Kiriko is just, in my opinion, I think people are just, it was also recency bias. I think a lot of people are going to go for Kiriko, but I think she has the coolest lore out of all. As much as Junker Queen has her own cinematic, I don't think people are going to attach to that as much as they are Kiriko.
So I think you're actually wrong. I think you're
fucking
wrong.
Spore brain thinks that far back. No, it fucking doesn't. Kiriko looks sick. Music in the little trailer thing was fucking sick. She's a support. Your boy's a support. How many support players in this call right now?
Oh my god, there's 3 support players in this call. 3. We need some fucking damage players in this show.
It's Kiriko.
Stay molding.
I'm gonna be honest. My main complaint was that there's way too many DPS heroes already, so Sojourn's already off the table because like we needed supports and we needed tanks. On top of that, Junker Queen's kit. Honestly, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, and then I saw it watch in action. I was like, ooh, this is not inspiring me. Now Kiriko, that's inspiring me. That's inspiring me.
So
I mean,
here's where you guys are all fucking wrong. All right, Kiriko is the worst of the 3 heroes that coming out. The worst. I am less excited about Kiriko than any of the 2 other heroes. Sojourn is the best damage character in the game. She's cool as heck. She's from Canada. Her gun is arguably the coolest gun. The railgun is phenomenal to use. Her slide is just like an amazing throwback to like the old arena shooters like Quake and what have you. I think Sojourn's freaking awesome. Junker Queen has the best lore of the 3, okay? Established world, Junker Town. It's a map in the game. We already have Junkrat, okay? The cinematic comes out. She literally fights to earn the crown of Junker Queen. The song, you remember the song that was with the animated short as well? Like they literally got some Australian like punk rock band to do like some Junker Queen song. She has a cool ass kit. She swings a fucking axe and she has like a rampage. Like she charges in. Not only is it Reinhardt charge, but she charges in, puts anti-nade on everybody in the team and does like bleed damage. Junker Queen is the coolest one. Sojourn number 2. Kiriko is the worst of the 3 characters.
Johnny's a fucking normie. Johnny's just a normie. You know, he hates anime. Exactly. He hates cool things. He hates like.
But that
those
also
elements,
sounds cool on paper, but it doesn't work out that way. Like in the actual game, it's not as fun. Like literally, you just said like in the manga as Junker Queen. That's literally what you did. Like in the manga, Junker Queen's this cool, but like this is what it's in the game.
She swings an axe. Kiriko has fucking playing cards. Just playing,
you teleported through axes at people, and you have like an anime fox that like runs at people. You can't say that's not cooler than a fucking axe.
Okay, if the fox was more integrated, I'd be down with you. But the fox just runs away. It's like I'm sending my fox in, and we run after it.
Yeah, and you chase after them. Isn't that everyone's dream?
Cool.
Make it a pet. Make it a companion. You know, like a pet. You could like attack fox or something.
They'll probably do a companion hero at some point.
I don't know.
Tank players be like
teleport. Very original ability.
We can get Yumi in Overwatch.
Yumi
in Overwatch.
I will say we haven't tried Kiriko yet, but I agree with Johnny's point on Sojourn that she is one of the most Overwatch heroes that have like come out in a very long time. She's just very fun to play. She's very old school FPS games. Sojourn's honestly, all the heroes are great. I think they're doing a great job. They are releasing cinematics. I'm starting to feel things again. Like I was watching this most recent like cinematic that came out from them, like the one that they just animated, and I'm like, man, it feels like 2016 again when they were just pounding out content and everything was just making me feel something on the inside. So if they can keep this up, we're gonna be good.
All right. Yep. Fucking weebs in the call. Anyway, moving on, we got Kiriko announced for the Overwatch League 2022 playoffs. And also we had details announced for the Overwatch League 2022 playoffs as well. It will be held in Anaheim over the course of a week, I suppose it is, here in California. So it'll be close and nearby. It'll be like a 30-minute drive from our Watchpoint truck or whatever. I don't know. It'll probably be somewhere on there. I don't know. Put us in the Anaheim parking lot or something. I don't know. Anyway, Kiriko's confirmed to that. And obviously this stirs up a lot of conversation because we've never had a normal fucking playoffs that is actually like competitive integrity. 2018 it was like let's have flex support players play Roadhog and Tracer. 2019 it was let's introduce Sigma. 2020 it was like hey, let's change the meta just for the sake of changing the meta. Then we had Roadhog meta once more. 2021 last year that was pretty normal, I suppose. Yeah, 2021 good job. Anyway, but now
Hawaii though, which kind of sucked.
Sorry.
We were in Hawaii though, which kind of sucked.
Yeah, well, you know, we had global competition. You know, after I was in Hawaii. Hawaii was fucking lit. I love Hawaii.
It was lit.
Yeah, but not the viewers in Europe or East
about being in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather be at a stadium with fans. That's all what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Some of the LCS events have looked pretty cool in America this past one anyway. But we're having a stadium too this year. Anyway, Kiriko's being confirmed. Of course, Kiriko's a new hero, and she's just coming in for the playoffs like 2 weeks after. So, you know, I want to give my 5 cents quickly on this first, though. I think the situation is
holy
five,
shit.
1 cent, 2 cents, 5 cents. I got a lot of fucking cents on this bad boy. You can put so many. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think this time it's different though. That's my take going into this one because I think if you shut up, if you go back and look at the previous like playoffs, I think it's been pretty unnecessary. Like the balance changes and, you know, maybe even introducing Sigma or whatever. It's been unnecessary at the current state of the game. And I think like changing the patch just for like changing the patch, that's what really just like that's what really like frustrates me. Like we want to finish on like a good note. But because we have Overwatch 2 coming out in like 2 weeks, people will already be playing this new hero. They'll be playing it for quite a while, to be honest. You know, the hero will be been out at the time of the start of the playoffs for like a few weeks already. So it will be like part of the game, and you want the Overwatch esports experience to match the game experience. So this time around, I acknowledge that it's not like the most competitive integrity related choice here to introduce a new hero just in time for the playoffs. But the fact is, the pros will have the opportunity to play this hero and practice this hero outside of the league for a few weeks leading up to the playoffs. And I think this needs to happen for the sake of the viewership and like the Overwatch League playoffs feeling relevant to all the new viewers coming in with the release of Overwatch 2. So my thoughts on Kiriko being announced is like, I understand that some people might be upset about this, but I think it's unnecessary evil, as Custa mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing of like in the past, as you said, well, I've been very vocal about how playoff patches are just like shit, as you said it, because it feels like they were doing them for no reason.
Yeah.
But this one, I agree with you. I think none of the players are complaining that Kiriko is going to be in there. I think everyone wants to get their hands on like the live patch. If anything, it sucks that we're not going to get her in earlier. But obviously they're not going to add Kiriko and that kind of stuff in the middle of a stage when we have no idea what her balance is like, right? She is the think about where Sojourn and Junker Queen started when they first got added to the game. They were not in a good spot in terms of balance-wise. So there's going to need to be a little bit of time to work out that balance. So I think it'll work out well. An important note as well, Sean Miller confirmed this, that the play-ins will be on the patch that we're going to play the Countdown Cup in. So that will not be the Kiriko patch and that kind of stuff. The playoffs, like that, you know, that final week event will be the only time that we actually have the Kiriko in it. So it'll make it interesting. Hopefully a lot of people will tune in to see the best players in the world mess around with this hero. So I'm excited for it.
I'm dicking around on Johnny. Okay, look, I'm fucking around with him. But
You're what?
At the end of the day, I'm dicking
You're what?
around with your fucking boys.
Yeah.
We're gonna dick around tonight, Connor. What are you saying?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I do think it's the perfect time to put it in. Plus, like you said, Scott, the game and Kiriko would have been out on live servers, so like the pros have a lot of time to play the hero that's not in scrims. Like we've seen recently with Junker Queen, it's like, well, they can play the game, but like no one else can, so they can't really play ranked. They can set up like games with themselves, but that isn't always as successful as you kind of would hope it would be. So in essence, like, yeah, it is the perfect thing for the Overwatch League to move into in terms of playoffs. There definitely will be people that complain, but like, honestly, marketing wise, it's kind of perfect. Yeah, of course you want to see really good fucking support players play Kiriko. And if she is a little bit overtuned, then great. I don't think she's going to be as like meta defining as like Junker Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think she's going to enable a style of play. Even if she is like a mega busted, I don't think she's going to do what Junker Queen.
And also a much steeper learning curve.
Literally the biggest, is one of the biggest enablers that we've had in like quite a while, to the point where it's like formed about it. It does remind me, obviously complete opposite designs of heroes, but it reminds me of Brig, and like it enabled so fucking much that resulted in a meta that was, just these 6 heroes, just these 5 heroes, you know? So even if she is a little bit busted, which in general, a lot of things are when they're initially released, I don't think it's a bad thing. And I don't think it will hard force a meta. And if it does, her kit already looks like it's going to be super fast paced and just like go, fuck people up. It might enable some cool heroes anyways. So we'll see.
All right.
I mean, I think if you're worried about competitive integrity for this season, you're in the wrong game, pal. Like, right? I mean, like, you're in the wrong game, pal. Like, literally, I've already said it. Like, this is just like
Mickey Mouse season.
Man.
Yeah.
I don't call him Mickey Mouse, okay? That's his friend. People, his friends with Mickey call him Mickey. It's Michael Mouse.
Michael.
Okay?
All right.
Let's move forward.
Sure.
All right. I do want to quickly talk about the Overwatch playoffs, sort of, you know, things going on in this topic as well. Obviously, it was announced that I said that it's going down in Anaheim over the course of a week or so. They also announced the play-in details that we already knew, of course. There was that the top 3 teams in the APAC region, they will directly qualify for the playoffs, and then they'll have a play-in for spots 4, 5, and 6 in APAC. And then I believe in the West as well. I mean, I should know this. It's top 6 that directly qualifies, and then there will be a play-in for 7, 8, 9, I think it's 10 as well, for 2 remaining spots in the West as well, for 12 total teams. So I did see a comment, of course, and I wanted to bring this up because I think it's an interesting question. Valorant Champions, concluded this past weekend as well, and that event took fucking forever. It felt like, Josh and Bren, they lived in Istanbul for like a month straight.
Yeah, you can see their tweets like them passing out and stuff.
It's essentially a month.
Absolutely insane. I feel like there's a middle ground here, and this relates to the mid-season madness as well. That me and Custa worked on. It was a marathon of a week. There were so many games, so much content, and it didn't help as well that the time zone wasn't really accommodative to viewers in the East Coast, US, or Europe as well. How would we structure the perfect playoffs format? Would we like to see something longer that perhaps like separates some kind of like group stage action for a week, and then you have like a sort of like a playoffs, single limb maybe going down to the arena whatsoever? How long do we want our best case playoffs to be, and how we would like to see it formatted? Do we think there's a better way here?
I think for the ultimate finals, right, like for that kind of stuff, I wish in a perfect world that we could do a 2-week thing where I would love if maybe the play-ins were a bigger deal in terms of maybe only 18, like maybe they send all 16 teams here, but only 8 teams make it into the final week playoffs. So it would be like a 5-day event in the play-ins and that kind of stuff. People play, there's a lot of matches, and then there's like a 2 to 3 day break. And then you have like a 4-day, 8-team gauntlets where there's a double elimination bracket and you go longer down the line. The reason, like, that's perfect world, but as Avast said, it's a weird season, and I think expecting that all of a sudden, if you double the length of these tournaments, all these teams, all these, the venue, all that kind of stuff, you're doubling the amount of cost it's going to cost at least, and everything starts scaling up proportionally. Like people are like, oh, why don't they just do what like Champs did? They just had a 1-month event in Istanbul, right? Like that would have been super, super expensive for them to run this, and I just don't think Overwatch League is there. I think it would be nice to have something bigger, but also the difference that the Overwatch League has to events like that is we have a regular season. Like we're not like these other events where everyone has their own little regionalized things that they all play online with like a couple of regionalized LAN events. We have a whole regular season, so we don't need to do a lead up week as well. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Obviously, it would be cool if we did longer events and bigger, 2-week type things, but I don't think it's necessary for the Overwatch League, especially where we are right now.
All right, I have a bit of a naive opinion here. First. When people say that it's too expensive to run these long tournaments, are we just like actually giving excuses for like the organizers to not put on like a great event? Because as it relates to this conversation that I brought up on the podcast, I am asking like, what would be the most epic possible playoffs imaginable for the Overwatch League? What would be the coolest fucking thing ever? Cost not implied. I think that, the 1-month event that the VCT just put on, that's like way too long. Like, no, I don't want a month thing. Too long, way too long. But I wouldn't mind having like a more epic kind of feeling to the play-ins, like you mentioned, for example. Where, we could have games on stage and maybe in an arena. It could be like Champs had as well, where it's like played on stage, but not necessarily an audience tied into it. You don't have to sell tickets, etc. But more like epic games leading in to the actual playoffs itself. So, I please, guys, like don't tell me that like, oh, it's too expensive, the cost is too high, they will never do it. We're talking theoretically, what would be the most epic playoffs format possible for us, or imaginable for us? You also have asked anyone?
Well, mine would be that 2-week thing. I don't think you'd want to do past 2 weeks for the exact reason of
Champs. Yeah, 2 weeks plus sounds a little bit like fucking crazy. And I don't fucking know. With like without cost in mind, I mean, what you ship you'd ship like the APAC region, the Asia region to the States, play them in Anaheim Convention Center, and then just have everything like on LAN with a crowd. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe that's a little bit too long as well. Or you do the Champs route, or not? The Champs route where you don't have like a crowd per se, but it's just the first bit no crowd, then the last bit you'd have a crowd and a big fucking playoffs bonanza and shit like that. I don't really know. I'm gonna be real. I'm so fucking glad. Gonna be honest with you. So glad I don't do scheduling or sorting out playoff formats, because that shit goes way over my fucking head.
Do you think the issue is, Johnny, because it's actually interesting, because I remember seeing these comments after the mid-season madness of a lot of people said that there was just so much viewer fatigue. So maybe it was too many matches over thing. Could you just spread that out with maybe like a day break here and there with like, you know, there's like a sort of thing. So you can play the same number of matches. You just sort of spread it out a little bit more and you add more stuff like in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, I think, that the playoffs. I think it's a good point that, like, I think the playoffs and the mid-season madness tournaments, they were sort of like rushed, you know?
Yeah.
Like they were rushed through in a very quick manner. Like people just can't consume that amount of content that quickly. And it also doesn't, you know, help making the playoffs feel like special when we're just like rushing through these matches. Like, no one's going to give a shit, and maybe, you know, the right answer could also be, I'm open to the other way of looking at things, that like maybe a lower bracket match shouldn't feel that special. But, you know, in a dream world, I'd like to imagine that a lot of fans, if given the opportunity and if made special, could be very incentivized to care for and be very interested in like making time for watching a lower bracket round where perhaps their favorite team is on the brink of elimination. If they're given time to like prepare for it and like schedule for it and like look forward to it, and the setting helps with that too, like putting them in arenas, you know, I would even be down for example, to have like, as you said, like a one weekend where you're in an arena and you just do the play-in stuff. And like maybe you make a special, so like top 4 West qualifies directly for the playoffs, but then you have like 6 teams battling for the final 4 spots or something like that. And I think people would show up for that. I'd like to believe, and maybe this is naive of me, that like people, even though it's just a play-in weekend tournament thing, like Toronto, we just had the homestand in Toronto, whatever, people would show up for that play-in tournament because it's LAN Overwatch in their city and they want to go watch Overwatch live or whatever. And it also gives like an extra oomph to like the feeling of the playoffs. And then a week later, you could have the actual playoffs and make it even more epic or whatever. I kind of found it interesting how people make the argument that some of these tournaments are too rushed and it's not setting the stage properly and it's not feeling as epic as some of us want it to be.
I think the viewer fatigue point is a little bit more nuanced than it is on the surface of things. I think the viewer fatigue, especially recently, is a lot of it's down to the meta, or at least I wouldn't say all of it, maybe like half of it.
I mean, the mid-season madness meta was very good.
Yeah,
that is very true. You do hit a point though where, and you see this with every kind of esport, is that at the very beginning of the year, that's majority when you have the most viewership, and it does start to flag near the middle, then goes down and then goes up again when playoffs and like grand finals and all that kind of shit around that kind of time and date. I just don't think, especially last meta, we had the game in the best spot it could be because we only had the Junker Queen comps, and like Florida fucking Mayhem were the only team trying other shit. It was like, oh, who's gonna run? Are they gonna run Ash? Are they gonna run Sojourn? Oh, that's crazy. Like, I don't think it really helped, especially in the last tournament. I think viewer fatigue set in more so because of the point in which the meta was in.
Yeah.
I also don't think any esport has worked out the viewer fatigue issue, especially as these leagues start trying to do these like stupidly long tournaments. You know, like Worlds was probably one of the first ones to do it with their crazy long group stages and that kind of stuff. Like I just had it with Champions. I watched a lot of the first Champions matches that happened. I watched a bunch of group stage, but then after a while, I was just like, I can't keep up with it, and I just fell behind. And then I watched the last couple of games that happened in Champs, and I think there is no perfect answer to it just yet. And I don't think anyone's really cracked the code.
Yeah.
Dude, even to be fair, you look at meat sports, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The regular season games that are played in the middle of the year, there's people watching them, but there's not as many as like at the very start because everybody's super excited. Oh, brand new season of American football, of like British football, like UK soccer or whatever the fuck, you know, and then towards the end of the season, it's like, oh shit, the playoffs, the fucking championship games, and then everybody kind of gets back into it. I don't think, dude, you can relate this to so much shit. Like even TV shows, it's like, oh, the season's like 50 fucking episodes. There's a lot at the start, there's a lot in the end, and in the middle, there's probably not as many people watching because viewer fatigue does set in. I think, you know,
well, this is our end.
Dude, yeah, if you want a really fucking meta discussion, the attention spans of people have gone down dramatically over the last like few years. So, you know, if you want to get into the nuance of it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's true to say, and like literally all the analytics in every Overwatch League season has, you know, determined this, that like usually around stage 2 or most, you know, catastrophically, like stage 3 is like usually when the worst viewership is for Overwatch League. So when people doom post in stage 3, it's very like predictable that that's going to be the phase.
Every year.
Jokes, yeah.
But I guess I'm making the point that like
Every game.
Like when we recover towards the end of a season and we get closer to the playoffs, I want that to like be dragged out a little bit to make it feel more epic, like the conclusion to the season, rather than just like, hey, we're doing play-ins and then we're doing a week in Anaheim and then we're done. See you later, because that's what we got this year.
I also think too many people are talking about like the format and that kind of stuff of the league and stuff like that. It's like reality of why we are here right now is, you know, obviously the YouTube hurt a lot of our viewership and stuff like that, but Overwatch is not a successful game right now. We are playing on a game that no one's able to play. Overwatch 1 has not had content in years. Our player base is the lowest it's ever been by a ridiculous level, right? Like format is not going to drastically change that either. So it's like, there's so many things that are going against it. And I like the idea of like trying to talk about the format because I think there's so many other things that you can blame, but we can definitely refine the format. And I think the Overwatch League regular season is something that I think I would also think needs a look at of like, there's just, it's such a long season and it feels like people lose interest and there's not enough crucial events through it that bring enough people back right now. And that's why you see, you know, the graphs of like everything by stage 3, the playoffs of stage 3, people just don't care. Regardless of how good the meta is, obviously we just had a shit meta. It always is just a point where people just stop caring about the league because of how consistent and how long it runs.
That's a really interesting point, Scott, because I think in the grand scheme of things, it's probably the best position it's been in. Because look at season 1 and 2, bro. How many fucking games did people
40
play?
games per team in season 1.
Jesus Christ.
40.
I remember even in 2020, I remember joining the league, fucking around with Hex and shit. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Jack.
No, Jack's deep in thought.
One
second, the moment's going to come.
Still here.
Yes.
Oh, he's back.
Dude, I was deep. Yeah, and you still had to do, even on the co-stream of us as well. It's like, oh, 4th fucking game, and me and Hexon like it matters. Like for 20 years down the line, it matters because remember the map points and shit like that. So in general, I think what we have right now, yeah, still it's a long season, but we have games, a tournament. So what's exciting? Games, tournament. What's exciting? You know, it's way better than what we had previously. No map fucking 4s that mean almost fucking nothing. No 40 game seasons. So yeah, it definitely can still be refined. I 100% agree. You're probably not going to be able to solve viewer fatigue. No one's figured that out yet. But it's like a little bit of hopium there. I think it's good the way we have it.
Yeah,
I have less tournaments though.
I think the current season format is actually fantastic. You know, Kickoff Clash Mid-Season Madness was one of the sickest Overwatch League tournament ever, and I can't wait for that to return. I think this Countdown Cup is a bit, you know, like, hey, we don't care about this. Countdown Cup tournament.
This a tournament is gonna really work very well.
It's gonna suck. I hope that people are just excited because, you know, Overwatch 2 is coming out or whatever. But to make the point, I think the current format is way better than anything we've ever had before. I'm just concerned about the playoffs specifically here. Look, I've talked to like some people that work on like sports TV and shit, and like I explained to them like, oh, we have, you know, stage tournaments, like 4 tournaments throughout the year, and they're like, their minds are like, like, whoa, you have middle of the season tournaments. Like, we're in a great spot. I just wish our playoffs was a bit more epic and less rushed through. But it's a great conversation, guys. So, you know.
I didn't even contribute to the conversation.
You
would you like to contribute, Avast?
Avast usually comes in with a banger at the end.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, playoffs gonna fucking suck. I mean, honestly, like I think that like there's no grandeur to it. There's like no fanfare at all. It's going to be an international LAN, and like what? Only 2 of the match days are even able to be viewed in person. Like what? I mean, come on. Like it kind of fucking sucks. Like it feels like for our first big event, honestly, like sure, we've had LAN events. This is our first real international event that's going to be happening for the whole year, supposedly, right? And we can't get people inside the venue. We can't, and like we're gonna have to crush all the games together. We can't even fly in all the competing teams. Like compare the grandeur to the grandeur of like a champs, right? And
you can't compare those things though. Like you can't. We are a league that gets 30,000 viewers on YouTube.
I know. But the point being, it's not about saying we have to have the same scale. It's more so saying like we should like ideally would it be nice to have like all the teams compete on LAN? Like that doesn't require us to necessarily. It doesn't necessarily have to even have viewers in it. Like,
well, what's the point of having a regular season then? Like, what are we doing if we have a regular season and then just everyone qualifies at the end to but
I'm not saying everyone's qualifying. I'm saying for the play-ins, specifically. Like,
oh, you want the play-ins to be on LAN.
I want the play-ins to be on LAN, leading to a playoffs on LAN for all the teams. That's what I want. I want a play-ins on LAN with the playoffs on LAN. And like, I would like to be there to be some more games where like people can watch them, right? But I understand maybe that's not feasible. I'll compromise on like people not being able to watch all the games, but I do think at least the play-in should be on LAN and the playoffs should be on LAN, and everyone should be at the same.
When you say LAN, do you mean in person or with viewers? With like
in person, like all the teams there competing in a single venue. If we allow viewers, great. If not, whatever, we can save it for later. But the main point is I want all the teams in a single location competing for play-ins and playoffs.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think in a perfect world, play-ins teams would be there as well. I think that's and that would go into the 2-week event of like you do the play-ins and then you do this stuff. I also think like the thing that we haven't brought up that is like really shitty with what is going on with the playoffs that sort of needs to be spoken about is that our grand finals are happening on a Friday. Obviously there is obvious understanding there with Worlds around the corner and it's happening in North America. So it's like if it was happening in, like China, like it happened last year, I think it would make sense because like that's happening overnight and then we can play during the day. But trying to compete with Worlds would be like a death sentence. But it has put us in this like really shitty spot of having a finals on a Friday. People can't, we have, you said 2 live attendance days, right? It's Thursday and Friday. Like there's a lot of people that just work that can't come to that kind of event. And all of a sudden we cut out a large part of our audience because we have to coordinate with someone else. That was a really unfortunate miss by the league. And we are by no means like, when I'm sort of giving them a pass of like, I was saying like, oh, this is just where we are. We shouldn't be there. And I'm hoping, as Far said, this is hopefully the last year that we're sort of at this point, but in the future, we need to be in a better spot and things need to be moving in the right directions. We need to be having better things. If we want to compete with these other esports, we need to be pushing ourselves in the right direction. Hopefully Overwatch 2 and having a successful game behind it will be the catalyst for that.
So yeah, that's my opinion, is playoffs feels insanely underwhelming in the current format. And like Scott said, the scheduling is not very good either. So like, I think that's my personal opinion. Now I'm going to be happy that we're getting an international LAN.
Yeah.
I'm happy for that. But like, so I am like the One Piece is real, like hooray, like, so like awesome. But I don't think that it's just an underwhelming announcement in terms of like the greater landscape. But I do understand why we're here where we're at. But just because I understand why I'm starving doesn't mean I'm not angry. I'm starving, I'm still anger. So like, that's my current opinion on the current playoffs.
All right. I think that was a great conclusion. Avast came in, he had some clutch threes on fire, just finished off the segment for us. You'd love to see it, yeah. So let's move on to the Countdown Cup itself. We did a great job covering the new stuff, the new announcements this past week, but we got a new stage starting this week as well. It will be the final stage of the year in the regular season. No tournament, just play-ins afterwards. The regular season games will matter for some teams, seeding and that kind of stuff. So let's start with the patch itself. Patch notes are not out yet, so we actually don't have confirmed word on the actual patch notes and what will it be. There was a leak last week, and then it seemed like there's
I
contenders.
cast in 2 days, by the way. I'm casting on Thursday. Would like to know the patch notes. That'd be great.
Contenders is playing on some patch, and then Avril came out and tweeted as well. That's like this is some patch. I don't know. I have not been on social media for the past 7 days, but. Is it safe to assume that the leaked patch notes seems to be...
Johnny, I'm cutting you off. It's ridiculous that we don't have a patch notes yet when the tournament is happening. How is anyone supposed to hype up these kind of things? Teams, players, fans should all know what patch notes are. We are running with the assumption that the patch notes are right. And I think we should just run with that because that's the logical thing to do at this point because there has been nothing else that's come out.
All right. All right, let's just fucking run with it. Because I promised last week that we would have a conversation about it when the word was out. The leaks are out. We don't usually talk about rumors on this podcast, but Bren's not here. So let's talk about rumors. The patch notes. Assuming that the leaked patch notes are the real ones, what do we think we're heading towards in the next meta? Joe seems pretty dead. All right, I'm just gonna read them through.
Someone link me. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Google it. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, just read.
Just read. General. Temporary health now grants 50% reduced ultimate charge instead of no ultimate charge. I haven't really thought this one through. Who knows? Baptiste. Biotic launcher primary fire damage increased from 24 to 25. Biotic launcher primary fire minimum fall off range from 20 to 25. Bastion ironclad passive is enabled again. 20% damage reduction while transformed. And Brigitte inspired duration reduced from 6 seconds to 5 seconds. Diva. Booster's impact damage increased from 10 to 25. So that's actually quite a significant booster impact damage. Micro missiles cooldown reduced from 8 to 7 seconds. Call mech ultimate cost reduced from 12. I guess that's when you're little baby diva and you try to build that up. Junker Queen commanding shout. Here we go. Allied health bonus reduced from 100 to 50 HP. And allied duration reduced from 5 to 3 seconds. So a big nerf when it comes to the health you grant to your team and the duration stays there. Temporary health no longer decays over its duration. So it's just a flat 50 that you give to your allies over the course of 3 seconds. And the cooldown has been increased from 11 to 15 seconds. So commanding shout getting nerfed quite a bit. Moving on, Orisa. Base health increased from 250 to 275, and base armor increased from 250 to 275. So a 50 sort of health armor buff to Orisa there combined. Energy Javelin, that's the new spear ability she has. Cooldown reduced from 8 to 6 seconds. Reaper has had his Hellfire shotgun spread reduced from 8 to 7 degrees. Fucking degrees in patch notes? I have no fucking idea. I don't know. Sojourn. Railgun energy gain from non-player targets. So barriers turrets reduced by an additional 50%. It was busted as hell. Before got tuned down a bit and now tuned down even more. And then finally Sombra with a bit of buff here. Hack ability lockout duration increased from 1 to 1.75 seconds. So quite a big change to the manual Sombra hack here. But then also, most notably the Junker Queen commanding shout has been nerfed quite significantly. So it seems like we're out of the woods. We're no longer Jotes meta. If these patch notes are true, it seems like we won't be playing Jotes. And I haven't watched Contenders, but I think they're playing like some Sombra stuff there. So is it safe to assume that we'll have a decent meta on our hands in Counter Cup if this is true?
Yeah, so I think it's Korean Contenders has been playing on this new unknown patch. And most importantly, Junker Queen is not being played. If you look at those nerfs, like, it just heavily hurts her commanding shout. It only lasts for 3 seconds now. Only gives 50 health. Cooldown's much longer. It just drastically worse, so it seems to have taken that away. What people seem to be going towards is actually a surprising amount of Sombra. Obviously, one of the issues with Sombra with a 1-second hack is you hack them and then they're unhacked like almost immediately, so they just use their abilities to kill you. So it seems like people are going back towards Sombra, which will be a big thing in the East. I would absolutely see them leaning onto that. The one that's surprising to me that I haven't seen as much in Contenders that I was expecting more from was the Reaper. The Hellfire shotgun spread reduced from 8 to 7. I'm pretty sure it was 7. It might have been 6, but it might have been 7 in the alpha. And people were
Reaper was crazy.
People were playing a ton of Reaper, and Reaper was really, really strong. And they made the spread 8, and everyone was like, it's just not his damage of his shotguns with that change is just way more inconsistent, and especially against big targets. So I would actually expect to see, if I was taking a stab at the meta, I would actually expect to go back to the kickoff clash Dallas Fuel meta. I actually don't have any insight to this. I haven't talked to any coaches or anything like that yet, but I think Xayah, Reaper, Sombra, Lucio, Ana would be my first stab at what I would try if I was a coach.
Yeah, I think meta-wise, to me, I think the thing about Reaper as well is that you also have to correspond this with the fact that I think a lot of teams, also in like the alpha were still figuring out how to play like 5v5. And so in terms of like how you do your positioning and where you take your fights, like Reaper is really strong because he's such a simple hero to initially bust out and learn. And also, like you said, the degree change, like Reaper was really strong on that current patch. I don't think Reaper, I wouldn't be surprised to see Reaper come back out though. But also there's a lot more chance that Reaper won't be as strong that if teams feel more inclined to run like Diva. Because then like you have a lot more abilities to lock down Reaper than you did before, because Diva wasn't really meta at all in earlier iterations of Overwatch 2.
The Diva changes are nice as well.
Yeah, exactly. So like if teams are more inclined to run Diva, then like Reaper loses some value there, I think. Also on top of that too, like who knows like how this will synergize moving forward. But this is the patch notes without Kiriko. Obviously, this is just the non-Kiriko patch. So to me, I'm looking at it and I see Sombra. I see Sombra, I see Zarya, and I see like Winston. Like I think like all those fast comps are going to be really.
I mean, yeah, people have been trying to make Sombra work the entire season. It almost feels like, because she feels a niche.
Yeah.
And now with this hack duration thing, supposedly, I mean, it would give even more reason to teams to try to make Sombra work and experiment with her. So I think regardless, you know, whether Sombra be good or bad with this change, then yeah, I think we'd see a lot of it to start off the stage, especially. Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think Sombra's going to be a very. I don't really know about based off these patch notes. Like all I know is Junker Queen. From what I've heard, Junker Queen's pretty dead. And then from seeing contenders, Junker Queen's pretty dead. Especially because when you bring in the fact that like now temporary health gives you ult charge too. So when like you have long sustained fights, you're literally farming more ult charge. Yeah, she's not very good. Like the Bastion is troll still.
We're gonna see some
What do you
Bastions.
mean? Wheels mode is sick, dude.
The
Come
Bastion
on now.
is still kind of troll. So yeah, everything that points to it to me is like Junker Queen's dead. Orissa's been trying to be played, is what I've heard, but it's still like not that good because it's like you still don't have like enough value getting from like you're getting from her kit still. And I think Sombra is like big. So
Yeah.
I don't really know much about the meta other than like Sombra appearing to be looking quite clean with it.
I mean,
now.
if it's played on the Korean Contenders patch, I mean, I'm just scrolling through these VODs and like the meta seems kind of lit, to be honest with you.
It's all over the place right now. Like
yeah,
they
and-
have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's all, you know, benefit of the doubt, or, you know, that was how it's always opposite statements. It's always like that at the start of metas, of course, that it's a bit all over the place. But like I'm seeing Zarya compositions from T1 with Genji and Sojourn. I'm seeing Sigma on Circuit Real with Widowmaker and Sojourn. I'm seeing Junker Queen being played by a team still with the Lucio and Bap on Control Center. I'm seeing Doomfist, Tracer, Sombra compositions from some teams. So like, you know, if this is the patch we get to play on, then I'd be pretty excited about this. You know, there's some May being played, so
I don't expect a Doomfist. There's been a surprising amount of Doomfist, but I think with him still not having a slow back, I would be surprised with an Overwatch League team going to that. Rather, if you're going to play a Doomfist, I think probably a Winston would just be better in that situation. But I
also
could be
with
wrong.
the buff of Sombra keeping your cooldown, like your hack even longer.
Yeah,
now,
Doom
I
gets
think
rolled like hard.
Doom gets like even further punished potentially. So like I think it's like teams right now just don't know what to play. Like everyone's still learning what is the best method to play right now. So there's just some universal constants, which like Junker Queen's not good.
Yeah,
like,
I would say that's not a bad thing at all. Like honestly, just having a meta again where it's almost not random, but like, oh, this team is going to specialize in this fucking thing, like London Spitfire doing the May Rush Ryan shit, and then another team is doing like Doomfist and stuff like that. Maybe there is a little bit more Junker Queen on certain maps. Anything that's just variety is good. It's always good. It doesn't matter what it is. If we have a meta for too long, it kind of fucking blows. We've seen that this year. We've seen that in lots of other years. If we just go back to what was I guess Summer Showdown? No, not Summer Showdown meta. Fucking
Kickoff Flash.
Kickoff Clash and Mid-Season Madness. Like, they were way more varied than we've seen Overwatch played in a long time. And everybody fucking loved that shit because we get to see different teams specialize in different things. So, yeah, honestly, dude, if someone pulls out Bastion again, I'm going to go fucking correct. I'm going to lose my goddamn mind.
Wills mode did get Ironclad back. So, you know, maybe you
Wheels mode, like, go kind of hard, though. You know, I've seen Matt play Wheels mode, like, play a little bit of Bastion. You know, I'm kind of inspired. No, but anything with variety is good. And I think anything that pushes Junker Queen out the meta right now is perfect. If we just don't see her at all, wouldn't complain. And I don't think anybody else would either.
I have such horrible memories of
Ironclad. At least
Ironclad.
not for a little while.
Yeah, do you remember, was it like a 40% damage reduction passive when he was in tank mode and the Bastion became literally unkillable?
It was,
yeah.
It was
I
in the
do
middle
remember
of APAC Season 2. I don't know where you were in your pro career then, Custa, but I remember
I think we were knocked out already.
Apex Season 2? Did you play Apex Season 2?
Yeah, we were both there for Apex Season 2.
I mean, that happened during NA as well, because NA, we were still playing tournaments under LG, and then it happened for like 2 weeks, and it was like major
And you just couldn't kill it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just couldn't. Yeah,
you
everyone
would
just
drop
had
a
to play
Diva
Bastion.
bomb on it, and you would nano the Bastion, and he'd stay in turret form and wouldn't die to the Diva bomb.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
If people remember at the time, LW Blue to become New York Excelsior was like the sickest scrim team in the world, and that was like with Saviolbi, Libero. They didn't have Mono yet because it was on AF Blue. Janus, I think. No?
Yeah, I think Janet. Yeah, I think it was like
it was like the sickest team. They were the best team in the world in scrims. Okay, and we were on Misfits at the time, and they had like a 90% win rate in scrims against us or whatever. And then one day they just dropped the Ironclad patch or whatever, and we're like, "Yo, you guys want to scrim like LW Blue?" We were already out of the tournament. And we just started rolling LW Blue with Ironclad Bastion, and these were like the best players in the world. And we just came out with Bastion and just like Mercy Pocket, Nano Boost, and it just ruined the entire competitive landscape playing Ironclad for like a week, and then they patched it or whatever. So that was a fun way to end it. Anyway, random stories. I think people like those. So yeah, I mean, you know, just looking at the contenders footage, I hope we get to play on this. It looks very exciting. And also, if the meta then settles a little bit, you know, maybe just introduce Kiriko as is, and you know, maybe. You know, I have no idea, what's going to happen to the game, but if we have a diverse meta and then you introduce Kiriko, maybe it'd be a good kind of opportunity. Anyway, let's talk about the teams in the Countdown Cup and what we're playing for this stage, of course. So there is no tournament this time around. There is going to be the play-ins at the end of it, but you know, God bless, there's actually something in the line for us on this stage with the remaining regular season matches throughout. So let's talk about the teams and really what they're playing for. And what's really on the line here. So in the West region, in the North American region, as mentioned before, the top 6 teams will directly qualify for the end of season playoffs. And what is interesting is number 4 to about number 9 even, there's actually quite a few teams that are have about the same number of wins and could be overtaken and will be competing for those slots. So I'll just run it through for the audio listeners especially. Number 4 is the Houston Outlaws. They're sitting at 13 wins. So they're relatively safe. You know, we got a 2-win bumper.
I think you should look at the points, right? 16 points?
Oh,
they have a lot of points.
Oh my God, you're right. Sorry. You know, it's been a long podcast. I'm lost. Yeah, they got 16 points. So Houston Outlaws, 16 points. They're relatively safe. They have 3 points over the next team, number 5, the London Spitfire, who sit at 13 points. So with a 3 league point lead, Houston Outlaws, they probably should be safe with a win here and there to qualify directly for the playoffs. Then we have London Spitfire at number 5, Toronto Defiant number 6 at both 13 points. So 13 points, that's currently like what you need to be in for the direct playoff spot. Then we have number 7 and number 8 in the North American region is Atlanta Reign and the Florida Mayhem. They sit at 12 league points. So they are 1 point or 1 win below London and Toronto on what's needed to qualify directly for the playoffs per se. Washington Justice at 10 league points. They're probably not going to make it. They'll be aiming for the play-ins. But those are sort of like the 4 teams that are competing for those final directly qualification playoff spots. And then for the play-ins themselves, Boston Uprising currently sit at 6 wins, beating, of course, the Vancouver Titans in the Summer Showdown stage. Vancouver sit at 4 league points. So, you know, if Vancouver had won that match versus Boston just a couple of weeks ago, then they'd be tied at 5 league points each. But instead, Boston Uprising have like a 2 league point lead on the Vancouver Titans for that final playing spot. So just reviewing these teams that are into it, what's a team you're looking out for to potentially like over, you know, is it Atlanta Reign overtaking London or Toronto? Are you worried that maybe like London and Toronto will fall out of favor and lose one of those spots? Or do you think Vancouver could make a run for the playing spots? What's like the team that stands out to you moving into the Countdown Cup that you think is the most interesting to you and the regular season matches ahead? So I'll start to give you guys a buffer. Atlanta Reign, for example, they're 1 point away from the playoff spot. I think we can all agree that like halfway through the season, Atlanta Reign were like one of the sickest teams because they got top 3 in Cup Clash, they got top 3 in Mid-Season Madness, and they still, as of now, find themselves 1 point away from the actual playoff spot, you know, below London Spitfire and Toronto Defiant. I'd be quite amazed if Atlanta Reign miss out on that final playoff spot and have to go through the play-ins. You never know what's going to happen in the play-ins, you know, the meta, whatever. It could be a bunch of different things. So Atlanta Reign is sort of like the team that I'm looking at among these very close teams in the Countdown Cup, and I'll be keeping a closer eye on.
Yeah, they're just 9-9, right? Like 9-9 in regular season for the caliber of player and team that they are is like pretty bad. So I actually don't know. Like, let me actually see if they have an easy stage at the end here but they've lost a bunch of matches that they really should not have lost. They have a somewhat easy schedule. Oh, actually, never mind. So they play Toronto, New York, Washington, and Florida, but they also have Shock and Dallas in there as well. So depending on how good they are in relation to Toronto, they could go 3-3, and that is not a sure thing to make it in, right? Like if Toronto is good, then they're going to get over there. What type of form is the London Spitfire going to be in? So for me, the big surprise out of all of this is that London Spitfire are number 5 right now. No one predicted that. And also the Florida Mayhem at number 8. They're pretty firmly going to make play-ins unless they have like the world's most.
I think they're guaranteed for play-ins.
Oh yeah, they're almost guaranteed actually at this point. So they're probably going to make it. Like, and they have the potential to get out of there. So big props to a couple of these lower end teams for just sort of like stepping up. And then Washington Justice at 8-10, disappointing season again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
it would be amazing if Florida Mayhem they'd actually get one of those spots because they are playing. LA Gladiators, Boston Uprising, Vancouver Titans, Atlanta Reign, Toronto Defiant, Houston Outlaws. So, some tough matches there because you're playing the LA Gladiators. You're playing the Atlanta Reign. We'll see what kind of form they're in. But if you were Florida Mayhem and you could beat Boston Uprising, Vancouver, maybe Toronto if the meta suits you as well. Florida Mayhem, they might be looking to compete for that final playoff spot. And that would be like an incredible achievement for Florida Mayhem as well, given like the roster they came into the season. So... any other storylines that you're intrigued by?
One that I'm intrigued by. I mean, obviously there's the London one. The London one is like, do they firmly make playoffs? Which I'm pretty sure they're pretty destined to, right? To make playoffs, or no? Could they lose a bunch of matches and not?
They're one match ahead of Atlanta Reign and Florida Mayhem. They also have a good map differential, so as long as they don't get like swept, London Spitfire, they are in a good spot and they have that lead. Looking at London Spitfire's schedule, they're playing Paris, Vancouver Titans, and then LA Gladiators, Dallas Fuel, New York Excelsior, San Francisco Shock. So 3-3.
I mean, they have 3. Yeah, I mean, they would go 3-3.
3 winnable games
right?
there.
Yeah.
New York, Vancouver,
that's
Paris.
Pretty crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's obviously the Mayhem. It's like up there with the Mayhem in terms of the achievement of like, holy shit, like this is like a roster that's really succeeded by what everyone, including ourselves, thought was going to be for them coming into the season. But also, there's one more team, and you already touched on the Justice, or not the Justice, but the Reign. There's one more team, which I don't want to see shit the bed here. Toronto Defiant.
The Copians.
Toronto Defiant. Toronto Defiant. I'm like, okay, finished 3rd at your event. Every day, you guys, well, Jaws was there. Every day I was in the green room. Rain. They didn't get knocked out before like Saturday, Sunday.
He was literally on his hands and knees. He had a little shrine dedicated to Hisu, a little like a mural on the wall, and he's...
Most of it was just like, please, you are one of the 2 organizations left that invested, or 3 organizations left in North America that invest in Overwatch. Please, do not get knocked out your homestand. And they didn't. And they got a 3rd, and it looked pretty good doing it. So the question though is like, if we get away from a meta where the roster kind of worked together very well, like Hisu on the Ashe and like keeping Aldo on the Genji or Finale on the Tracer, right? Like, what's it going to look like for the following stage, and like how good meta-wise are they going to potentially be if they have to play like a Sombra, right? Like, and playing around that Sombra, if that's going to be the meta, like if they get to go back to like Winston,
and
like
Sombra.
Yeah, right. Like, there's a lot of like questions with this team because I'm not worried about their backline. Their backline, no matter what the meta will be, I'm perfectly content. Like, their backline's great. They are the new adamantium backline after the Gladiators kind of beat them. But like, it's more so like, what does their DPS and tank lineup look like? Because Muse, he's like had really good moments on like Doom, but like then they had Hotba play Junker Queen.
His Winston is good.
Yeah, his Winston's good, but like that's fair actually. His Winston did have good moments. So like I don't know, but like what about if they go to play Zarya? I guess you put Hotba on it. Like there's a lot of stuff up in the air, like what their DPS and tank lineup might be as you head into a new meta potentially.
I am worried. Sorry, Custa. I know you want to talk as well. I am worried that we'll enter like the sub out and sub in tank roster situation again. Go on.
Absolutely. And my big worry for the Toronto Defiant is I think their most important match is first. They play Atlanta Reign this weekend, and I think that is a must-win for them, because if they fall to the Atlanta Reign, all of a sudden I think falling into the Plains becomes much, much more likely.
Yeah, and it's worth keeping in mind as well that they lost to London Spitfire twice, right?
Also, this is the chance for Gladiators to end the season strong and to show that, like, yeah, last stage was a fluke for them.
Yeah.
As well. Like, I think because like there could be a very significant like one stage where but you kind of picked it up at the end of the stage, right? Of like, oh, you had a flop, and yeah, like, but if you have 2 stages, then like you can definitively say probably like no matter what I know a lot of narratives have been put out, but like definitively probably no Glads players can be in the running for MVP if they have a second bad stage or like a middling stage, and on top of that, like the narratives like Glads are the best team are soundly defeated because of the fact that like you can't have 2 bad stages. You can be the best team for the first half of the year, but you're definitely not the best team.
Dude,
like,
Glads have a good schedule though, like a good schedule. They have Florida Mayhem, they have Vancouver, London, New York, Washington, Boston.
Well, remember they had a hard.
They had a really hard schedule.
Stage.
Yeah, last stage was a hard schedule.
This
so
makes
I
up
think
for
more
it
than likely
and
they'll be
then
fine.
some. Yeah,
I think
they are
they'll be
going to be
fine.
more than okay. I think
Especially
Toronto
because
are
they
also
have
in a pretty good spot. Like, dude, the way they looked, obviously it does depend on the meta and how that shit goes out. I hope they don't have to keep swapping tanks. Fuck that shit. But like, what do they have? New York, they have Vancouver, they have Shock. Okay, the Shock one. Yeah, you're probably losing that one, buddy. Unfortunate. And then they do have Florida Mayhem, then they have the Houston Outlaws, who will they choke at the very end. That's the last match, actually. Is that the last one? It is. The last match of Countdown Cup. So yeah, I think Toronto to fight are more than okay. Yeah, they need to get over the hurdle of Atlanta Reign, but they're going to be good. They're going to be set sailing. Plus, what are they right now? 10-8. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean their record's incredible. Like their record's fun. They're 12. Really they're technically 12-6 and they're 19 and they're have 19 points. So like
yeah,
they're really good. And then looking away from North America, it's like well technically there's also a chance for like does Fuel look as good in a non like Hive Mind meta as well? Now that we've seen
they
them,
should
like,
be good in a Sombra meta or a Xayah Reaper meta.
That's what you think, right?
Good,
because
right?
you put Hanbin in and you put Hodoha in potentially, like they should be really good. But also looking at APAC, the return of Spark potentially.
Yeah.
Alpha E and Shy returns to the field. Their penis cage is unlocked, ready to fuck. Like, are they ready to pound? Like, I don't know.
Before we jump over to the East, something that we didn't have in the rundown, Arns did get dropped by the Gladiators. This,
sorry.
Yes. It's something that I think a lot of people, it's not a massive surprise with that kind of stuff. It's disappointing to see him go. It's not going to leave a gargantuan hole in their roster because they do have Happy. People were already speculating would they play Happy or Arns. Maybe in a Widowmaker meta, Arns would come in, but for the most part, I think we were expecting Happy. So hopefully Arns finds somewhere to go play. He's mechanically one of the best players like in FPS games. So I'd love to see him sort of find.
Hey man, he won 2 stages this year. Legend.
Wait, did he play in those stages?
He played in the second one. He came in for the finals and was dope for mid-season madness.
Yeah, you're right.
He got some playtime.
Yeah. And then the first one, I mean, the guys, they played a lot of Patipan Soldier. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. Ans did get dropped by the Gladiator, so we'll see. And there was also that tweet. I like to believe that Gladiators offered him to actually like leave the team prior to the deadline, so he could explore options for the playoffs if need be. But it didn't seem like that happened, so he left the. It seems like a mutual agreement to leave anyway. It's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, look. All I'll say about Ans is I am really grateful that he came out in the mid-season madness and popped off like that. That was a huge like redemption match, I feel like, because people have been like, oh, he's okay, he's not the Ans of 2020, and then he just like turned it off for the most important match of the tournament and just like was lights out for the LA Gladiators in that final. So an epic note to sort of end his current career on, and if he decides to continue playing for another team next year, we'd be happy to see him. So there you go. Good point there. Good pointing that out. Before we move on to APAC as well, there's one more team I want to discuss here. So, as people might have seen, of course, I took a week break from social media. I just had enough. You know, there was a lot of
So props to
negativity.
you, Johnny, for doing that shit.
Yeah, holy
Hell
shit.
yeah.
There was a
Hell
lot of
yeah.
negativity surrounding the game for the longest time. You know, every time there was something new, Overwatch 2, cool related, there was just bad news. Overwatch League, bad, everything bad. People just negative. And it got to me. And the fucking final straw was, we did the episode last week. And I forgot as a host to bring up the Dallas Fuel. And their fans were fucking rabid. They just come out, you fucking hate our team. You hate this franchise. We have one good stage. You played us low in the rankings going into the Summer Showdown. And you never put respect on us.
Did we not talk about Dallas at all last episode?
No,
we
actually...
we didn't really touch on them too
Very
much.
little,
Honestly, we definitely kind of
we just like,
on other
what
teams,
about proper? The San Francisco show. No, and that was a mistake. I actually had written down in the rundown last week that we're gonna discuss Hanbin as an MVP candidate following that, but the show went on, and so I moved on from that, and you know, we forgot to talk about the Dallas Fuel. So we're catching up. Here's the Dallas Fuel. What do we think about the Dallas Fuel going into the countdown count?
It would be funny if we forgot them again.
We'll have the honoraries fuel segment.
This is for the Fuel fans. So this is actually a very interesting question because they came back in the Jotes meta, and you know, we've always sang their praises, especially in sustained metas. You know, dating back to last year, they were really good when they stuck together. They speed in, playing these fast compositions and speeding on over your opponent. But now we're moving away from Jotes. So I want to have like a bit of a discussion, like what do we think about Dallas Fuel going into perhaps a new meta under new circumstances? They were lights out in the kickoff clash as well. Large credit to that was that Hanbin was the best Zarya in the league. Hanbin, of course, was also the best Junker Queen in the league during Jotes. And then during like the June Joust, they just hit like a bit of a road bump there. They couldn't figure themselves out. They were a bit middle of the pack. Their damage lineup was all over the place. If we're moving into a Sombra meta, that could spell really good news for the Dallas Fuel because even going into the season, you know, during scrims and whatnot, I heard extremely good things about Dallas Fuel's Sombra dive. It just never happened to be meta, you know, in the league itself. But if we move into a Sombra meta, that'd be really good for the Dallas Fuel, I think. I think they'd be perfect in that. But what do we think about Dallas Fuel moving on of a great stage win for them? And moving into the Countdown Cup now, do we like treat them as like a top 3 team now, even though we're not in a sustained meta? Do we put enough respect on players like Edison, for example? Let's start there with the damage lineup and, you know, perhaps the support part of Dallas Fuel.
Well, here for me is we know that they can play like the Zarya Reaper. We know that they can play the sustain. Where I think that they've stumbled throughout the entirety of the season is when they've had to play dive, which is interesting because theoretically they should be good at that composition, especially with Fearless, but every time that they've tried to integrate Fearless in this season, they just don't look as comfortable as some of these other teams. And that's why in the kickoff clash, they ended up adapting and being like, well, we can't play this Doomfist, we can't play this Winston Dive, let's play this Zarya Reaper. And it ended up working for them. But if that like hadn't worked for whatever reason, they would have crashed and burned out of the kickoff clash. So for me, it's, have they worked out that synergy? Have they worked out how to play this? You know, obviously Sparkle's Tracer is not, you know, the top tier. It's very, very good, but it's not like, you know, the highest of levels.
Well, I mean, I'd say it's like a top 4 Tracer, probably.
I disagree with that. But there we go into like Fearless. Every time he's tried to come in, they just don't have that synergy. It feels like they haven't been able to get that. They can find a way to play with Hanbin and stick to what's been working for them this year, then I think they will be fine. But the question is, if we go to Sombra Winston for that matter, and it becomes like Sombra Winston Tracer type of dive, I'm a little worried for them because they haven't been able to show how to do it, but they are very talented. They have great coaching. They have great players. I could see them getting over that hump, but they need to prove that to me.
Yeah, do we put enough respect on Edison? I mean, I think that, you know, going into the year, some of us were just like, I'm not going to name any names, you know, because I don't actually recall who said Edison was good and bad, whatever. I
said Edison was good.
Yeah.
I will make the proclamation that I did say Edison still had it. I remember because guess what? I'm a petty bitch. So I remember everything. So I remember. Actually, I take it back. I don't remember many things, but I do remember things that make me look good. So I remember that. So. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't really point.
No, that's what I wanted to hear, you know. I think Edison almost like established some kind of like calm within this damage line as well, because we had so many questions about Gurio. I was very high on Gurio going into the season. I was like, maybe Dallas Fuel could be like a team that Gurio could flourish and develop in. Didn't see that from Gurio early on in the season. Instead, with Edison on the long range hit scan here, you know, I think that really helped his team out. And I think Sparkle, he had like a top, you know, an amazing Genji performance in the Summer Showdown tournament as well. You know, I'd probably say that Who Are You was the better Genji. Probably Proper as well, but then it's Sparkle. Like, he's in the mix. Top 3 Genji. I think the way he synergized with the team, it just looked amazing. The mechanics were there, the way he dashed around the map. Complete awareness in a very high-speed sense. So, a lot of Sparkle... a lot of faith in the Sparkle in that regard. And then, of course, I want to top out this Dallas Fuel conversation on Hanbin, of course. Because now, he's essentially... I don't want to say dragged, but he's almost carried the Dallas Fuel to 2 stage finals on the back of first Isaiah in the kickoff clash, and now to a title in the Summer Showdown as the best Junker Queen in the league. To many, he's the best tank in the league itself. Joss, I'm gonna throw it over to you. I know you're a bit of a Dallas Fuel fan yourself, so I want to hear your take of this. Do you think that Hanbin is like a top 3 MVP candidate going into the Countdown Cup?
I think you must be on actual liquid crack to not think that Hanbin's not top 3 for MVP conversation. Like, you have to just be insane. Him and Proper for sure at this point. Who the third one is, no idea. But in my head right now, Proper is number 1 MVP candidate, and then it's Hanbin. Like, hands fucking down. I think you'd struggle to find anybody that doesn't say he's in the top 3, if not top 2 of MVP candidates. Just because his tank play has just been so good. Coming into a season where it's like, okay, we got one less tank. Where's Fearless going to sit? Are they just going to keep trading him and Fearless in and out? And they've not done that. And then when Hanbin actually, didn't we see him on Winston? We definitely saw him play some main tank. I'm like, this guy's actually pretty good at main tank too. Like, although now I'm not really fucking surprised. He's just an incredible player. Like, Dallas Fuel wouldn't have been able to get that as far as they have done in different tournaments and in the regular season if you traded Hanbin for a lesser tank player. Like, some teams you could say, yeah, sure, you could trade this tank player, this support player for someone else, and their team would still do exceptionally well. I don't think the Dallas Fuel would nearly done as well. They didn't have.
Yeah, I think that's fair, honestly. I think, to me, Hanbin being... It's so hard because, like, I was really on the Reiner train, and then, like, he just had a really flop stage, while Hanbin, when he's played, has always been incredible. You know, and was a defining factor for 2 big stages for them now. And potentially, if we enter another stage of like Zarya, or even, God forbid, like Diva or something, like, holy fuck. Like, holy fuck. Hanbin, I mean, he's made a very good argument for that position, I think.
I think for me, if we're talking like MVP, I think obviously with the failure of the San Francisco Shock, I'm still pretty high on the Proper train, but I think it's more other people have stepped up to him, like Hanbin, obviously one of those, but also in the East, Lip has just been lights out. And I think if Shanghai Dragons had been better as like a whole in the first couple of stages, I think Lip would potentially be head and shoulders above everyone else. But in the same way that we hold this against Proper, you need to hold that against Lip. Lip was having dominant performances when the Shanghai Dragons were struggling, but he needs to step up. It's kind of unfortunate that when we're not going to have another tournament for this Countdown Cup, because I think that really would have been the determining factor for a lot of people of like, who's going to perform in this final tournament, but we don't. And the play-ins, none of the players that we're considering are going to play in the play-ins. And then I think we make our voting before the playoffs. So it kind of sucks. And I think it's going to be probably the most divided MVP race that we've ever had. And I think it's fair. I think you can vote for Lip, Hanbin, Kevster, or Proper and have an absolutely valid right to do so. While in the past, it's usually been a 1 to 2 horse race. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, and I agree with you that it's a shame for the award's sake, which, you know, it's not the most, doesn't hold that much weight, but it's unfortunate because I feel like, especially with the meta changing, if we move into a Sombra meta, that could really like display some kind of weakness for some of these damage candidates as well, because playing in a Sombra meta, it is very different from playing in like a pure kind of hit scan meta, even like a Genji dive kind of meta. Like Sombra is just a different tempo, it's a different skill set, it's a bit more like cerebral kind of way. You need to think more about how to engage and how to use abilities. So it'd be interesting to see how, you know, introduction of Sombra, for example, if that, you know, how Proper, you know, where the San Francisco Shock look playing that hero. Kevster and the LA Gladiators, I almost have the most confidence in Dallas Fuel in that regard to figure out the Sombra style and how they would make that work, and maybe that could help Hanbin's case, especially if he's on Diva. So we'll have to see. For Lip and the Shanghai Dragons, I don't think it's a question that Sombra would be very good for them. But yeah, it's interesting that it's hard. It's not going to have the biggest impact on. It shouldn't have the biggest impact on how you decide to vote, even though it's recency bias and all of that, because there's no tournament. It's just regular season match, and it's whatever. We've had 3 amazing tournaments behind us, and those should carry most, in my opinion. But yes, that's sort of like the MVP. I think that's a good conclusion to the MVP debate before we move on to our final stage. It's all over the place. You can have all kinds of different opinions. Quickly though, Rookie of the Year, I don't think it's a real discussion at all. It's proper at this point. Coach of the Year. Is there any team that you're on the edge on? Obviously, Lona Spitfire and Christopher is the leading candidate, but I think maybe Gunba deserves a shout there as well. They're number 8, Florida Mayhem. They made it pretty far.
D-Pay needs a little bit of a.
Well, they got 3 wins. Calm down, there, buddy.
Okay, Jack. Yeah. Okay, Jack. That is.
Also, they Showdown.
One stage got 3 wins against bad teams and then blew out of the tournament. What are you talking about?
No. Did I say Coach of the Year? No. Does he need a little shout out? Yes.
I agree with the shoutouts.
Okay, yeah.
What if, though, they qualify for the play-ins, they go through the play-ins, they qualify for the playoffs, and then they win the Overwatch League? Then what?
I'm stroking you right now.
If he does that, I'm fucking on board. He has done a good job of turning the culture of the team around. He's done a great job. But Coach of the Year, they got 3 wins against, what was it, New York, Paris, and someone else,
I'll give him. Hey, we give him a shout out for being, as you saw, Jack, Menaces, him, Danny, Livin, and Albert being Menaces on the streets of Toronto.
Yeah. Dude,
big shout out for that.
Big shout out. True, actually.
Give him a shout out for that. So yeah, I don't think DP quite makes it this year, but it is impressive work when he's done.
Definitely not, but definitely deserves.
If he'd had a better Summer Showdown
performance,
then but it's I mean, also Rookie of the Year. Damn, man. I mean, it's probably really has to be proper, but God, there's been some I really want to there's
been some great main supports. If main supports could get more credit.
Chorong,
Vindane,
crazy.
Vindane,
the fucking support players are on it again. Just
honestly, if the level of impact, those guys would be up there in the top 5 main supports of the year as rookies. If main support was a more identifiable
year to Vindane,
I don't want to give. I don't want to because
that would be one of those egregious
not.
steals of all time.
Not Vindane.
But they're fucking. It's been impressive what these main supports, and I'm excited. I think they are literally leveling up the game of main support as time goes on. We are seeing a new level of expectation from these players.
Dude, and imagine fucking saying that a fucking main support, one of the more invisible roles in the game. The DPS, always big blades, play the game, flashy fucking shit, right? Dragon Blades hitting 5Ks and shit like that, which is sick. Main support in general, and historically, has been a role that's a little bit more invisible because you're not really killing people that often. You're more there for utility and just helping your other support, booping people away as Lucio, etc., etc. You know the fucking jam. But that is, I think that's worth a good talk. That wow, a fucking main support and a few of them at that are really actually showing how much impact they can have in the game on it historically. More invisible role than a DPS. You're more than likely going to give player of the year, fucking MVP, whatever the fuck, rookie of the year to a DPS player, then a tank player, then a support player, just going on how much impact those different roles have had historically. So yeah, Chio and fucking Chorong, wow, holy fucking shit. They go crazy. And for rookies too, unreal shit.
Yeah. What's been our Rookie of the Years recently? I think 2019 it was Haxel, 2020 I think it was Alarm, 2021 Pelican, 2022. I mean, more closely proper. It's not like it's been easy for the main supports to establish, make a case for themselves.
It's been impossible.
Okay, most valuable player, the way I do it is which is the player that you want on your team the most? Main support is not the most impactful role, so it's very hard to be the most valuable player. And even in your 2018 when Jonak won MVP, it's that's just because Zenyatta was so impactful in that meta of your ability to sway a game and turn a game. Main support I don't think will ever get to that point unless the game drastically changes in the heroes that main support plays. It might. Hey, I would fucking love it. You know, I'm main support myself.
And I don't want to bring about some main support hate here, okay? You know, I'll completely agree that like Vindime, Chio, Chorong, they've all been amazing, and I'm happy for you guys, all right? Just it's tough to make a case for Rookie of the Year. You know, you can be great in your own right, you know?
Yeah. We need a rookie. We need a main support of the year. That's what we need to do. I'm gonna message Sean Miller. We need to give some love.
I actually think that's a fantastic idea, just like as a meme award. Custa's main support of the year award.
Oh yeah, I would love to be awarded the meme award of the year. Jesus. I'm glad. I can't wait to put that patch on my jersey.
Hey, people love awards. People love awards. You know, I think every main supporter around the league would be like, "Hey, I'll take this. I'll take this." Mickey.
I just want it to be like a little anime version of Head Stop.
I don't know.
On your jersey.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Let's quickly discuss the APAC region before we move on as well. You know, they have some things to play for as well. A bit more simple in that regard. We mentioned earlier, top 3 of the APAC teams, they directly qualify for the playoffs. The play-ins, the final 4th playoff spot will be played for in play-ins by number 4, 5, and 6. So in its current form, Hangzhou Spark and the Philadelphia Fusion, they are tied at 12 league points for the final and 3rd playoff spot. So everything's on the line. You've got the same round robin format for all the APAC teams once more. So, you know, Hangzhou and Philly, they'll be battling it out as well for an internal kind of matchup, and then try to acquire some other points. Chengdu and Guangzhou, they're not getting that final playoff spot. So the other sort of interesting thing is Valiant competing for the final play-in spot with Guangzhou Charge at 6 points as well. Custa?
Yeah. All right. Valiant just dropped NoHill. Like, do you think NoHill seemed like
the only
Technically, wait, you don't know this? Wait, he doesn't know this.
I've been out. I've been disconnected.
Okay, no. Actually, wait, we should have. What am I? Wait, we've lost the. We should be talking about the Valiant right now. We need to. I don't want to. No, we need to. We do need to. We actually need to.
I've been offline. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
We absolutely have to. We absolutely have to for 2 reasons. One, so NoHill left the roster, Johnny. Okay, but here's the
mutually agreed.
He mutually agreed upon until his contract ended. Is what he came out and said. His contract
he needed to go to university.
Yes, he said he signed a contract with Valiant that only lasted until the end of August.
What?
Yes. So that's thing number 1. So NoHill left, and then he said he's retiring, but actually, he says, JK, I just said that so I can come back later because fuck the Valiant, essentially. And then, thirdly, another report came out while you were gone that a bunch of the players on Valiant, that essentially NoHill said, like, yeah, I'm severely in debt because I've been paying all my player salaries. Yeah. So the bigger thing here, while everyone's been freaking about all this stupid shit, is that Value continues to literally be criminal organization, literally criminal, not paying like I'm not even. I'm not kidding. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding.
It's all hearsay. We have no.
But the thing is, there's still been other reports that said they're doing the same thing.
There's legitimate
saying this.
There's legitimate things to this claim, and this is why I didn't really want to bring it up too much because it's like there's a lot of just like shit that's been thrown out into ether. Yes, Valiant with everything that's going on, trash organization. They're almost certainly a player's not being paid. Did NoHill bankrupt himself? He's saying so. I don't know. Shit.
Well, but the thing is the translation. But the thing is there is no other interpretation. You just said there's almost certainly players not being paid. Stop there. Stop right there.
You're taking NoHill's word for like everything, and which is
I'm not
fair.
just taking NoHill's word. I'm not just taking NoHill's word.
Like, I don't know. Like, here's my thing. If it's just like, there's obviously so much shady shit going on there, but it's impossible to know what is real, especially because every bit of information that we are getting is through a translation from like some like person on like, you know, Billy or something like that, right? Like, we don't have perfect information, so I don't want to talk about it, but it is sussy as fuck. NoHill's gone, and the LA Valiant is going to go to shit at this stage. Like 100%.
It's over. But the point being here, Johnny, all signs point to this organization should have their Overwatch 2 access revoked, and they should just give me.
I agree with that too. Like, I think LA Valiant there should be no world in which LA Valiant
They literally should be shut out. Like if they're like, okay, we're not gonna give the franchise back. Okay, well then just take away the Overwatch 2 access. Good luck playing. Like literally, like legitimately, fuck this org. And secondly, how does an org let a coach sign a contract that only lasts till August? How is that even possible? I don't even understand how that's even possible. So yeah, like pretty much it's fucked. It's just fucked. It's literally fucked. And like every day I look upon this, it's a blemish upon God's green earth. So I simply can't believe it. I can't believe it.
So on Mondays, when I put together a list of topics that is, I swear to God, like 40 lines long, and then I type to you guys, tag you on Discord, and I go, hey guys, I have not been on social media for a week, and I'd appreciate your input if there's something I've left out there. Maybe in that list, someone would let me know that the LA Valiant have allegedly not paid their players, and their coach have been let go in the middle of the season, expired rather. That might have been relevant for the topic list as of today.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I not only did I not read your post, I assumed you were going to catch up on any news at any point. I thought you were gonna read on some stories.
I just saw a post from like NoHill. It's like, I'll be back next year, and I'm like, well, that makes sense. And I'm like, all right, I don't get the big deal. I was like, what?
Any further into that? You didn't look any further into that. And then, I mean, that's just crazy. That's crazy.
I was like, wow, did they get an extension or something? Like, what the fuck?
You didn't look any further into that post.
Great for NoHill. I'll be back next year.
I'll accept my part of the blame. I'll accept my part of the blame for not informing you of this, but
I literally saw that NoHill tweet. It's like, I'll be back next year, and I was like, this is the biggest non-news event ever. I had no fucking.
I mean, you just didn't even think about like what else the implications could be for that one.
No, look. I just scrolled through. I had no idea, but yeah, I must have missed that one. All right. Yeah, that's all right. LA Valiant, they don't have a chance.
Do we want to talk about the Spark things? Because I see that it is in the rundown. Do we just hit this here instead of later on? Because here's my thing. Spark is playing for Philly for the number 3 spot to guarantee them in the playoffs. If I see Neko or Teru roll up in the server, that would be the most Changoon shit I've ever seen.
Okay, so I did actually know this. I just want to say, I did know about the player changes to the Hangzhou Spark, and also Piggy was added to the Guangzhou Charge. I was going to get to that. That was part of this segment as well. But we can just get into it right here. Hangzhou Charge added Teru and...
Neko
yes,
Jakes,
the coach,
the Hangzhou Spark.
Yeah. I am alarmed. As a Hangzhou Spark enthusiast, I am alarmed.
Sign the horns. Well, here's the thing. Like, there is, like, Teru was, as far as I'm aware, Teru was playing for Team Diamond to not very much success. It seems like he fully role swapped to support after dabbling with it in the Vancouver Titans. And Neko, I don't think has played. He's been a coach for the Spark, right, for the last year. So apparently he's just putting himself in. There is no way. Like, I understand Irony and Super Rich haven't been exceptional for this team, but there is no way that they're about to play, right?
There's also,
is Teru playing support?
He plays support now. Yes,
he's a support player now.
He plays flex specifically.
Yes.
He won't play over Super Rich. Super Rich is actually, I think, still had a better year than Irony. So.
There's just no shot they both play. This seems like major bag getting somehow. They've swindled the bag. No shot. Sure, Irony and Super Rich haven't been crazy, knockout of the park. But Super Rich has been decent the entire fucking year.
Rich has been
There's
solid.
no shot Neko and Teru come in, play fucking Lucio Brick, or I don't know what the fucking meta is going to be. Whatever. Maybe it's double flexible. I don't know. But there's no way, dude. There's just no way. Do they really think Neko, who's been coaching for this long, is going to step in and step up to Irony?
Dude, Neko coming in to play my support for this team. I mean, this team.
I think Super Rich was great.
Good. Super Rich is good.
Yeah,
Super Rich has been good. Like the thing about Spark is that no joke. This they're on crack cocaine on Spark. They're 100%. Like something that happens on. It is literally. If roster size, they have a contractual agreement. If the roster size, current roster players drop low amount, they must immediately add new players to the roster, no matter what. It's just, I don't even know what the fuck's going on with Spark. Changoon is off the fucking goop many, many times. And also just their general management. It's not even a Changoon problem specifically. It's just holy fuck, what's happening over here? At this team, it doesn't make any sense. Neko hasn't played professionally in what, 2 years?
It'd be like 2
plus?
years, right? Yeah.
2 years
Like,
plus?
it'd be a while.
Teru literally just swapped to flex support. Now, granted, I mean, it could be like a skewed situation, but it seems unlikely that can keep happening. It does seem unlikely they can keep getting away with it. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's
You
weird.
can't keep
It's
getting
fucking
away
weird.
with it. There's no shot. Yeah, the last time we played was in Contenders Korea in 2020.
And he played main support, right?
O2
I think
Blast.
did he play main support
Yeah.
then? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
I
did.
think
Technically,
so.
also, he had
Yeah.
swapped to main support. That's right. He wasn't even playing flex support. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, there's
once
just
again,
no
if you
way.
put Neko over Super Rich, my God,
Yeah,
I will
that's-
lose my
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
mind.
And that's the
I
thing. It's
will
like,
lose my
why
mind.
would they sign people so late in the game if they weren't going to play them, right? Like, there has to be internal conflict going on in the team. Like, I could, I don't like bringing this up because it's just pure speculation, but it's like there has to be a reason, right? It's not like Changun is like, you know what? Super Rich actually sucks. Actually, in my eyes, he's like he's closed his eyes and he's seen it in the wind. Like, I think it would have to be like something to do with just internal culture if they play. But if it is,
They
that's
did
just
go
a bad.
1-6 last stage.
Now,
they were
now
the
you
last
did know.
place
Now
team
you
last
did.
stage.
Now you did notice
But
as
it
well
wasn't the
that
support's faults.
No, but also they did technically with this move, right? With Neko and Teru coming in, though technically Iron already was, but like if Neko were to play main support or Teru were to play for some reason main support or just double flex, like right, they pretty much would be able to make their whole roster if Bernard played Korean.
Except for Shy, yes.
Yeah.
And
Except
that's,
for Shy.
and that's the I think that would be the
Yeah.
most likely thing is that the Super Rich is a Chinese player, so maybe there's some internal things going on there.
No, they can still make it all Korean because they have Alfie.
Yeah, but
Oh,
they,
yeah,
if
they
they
do
take out
architects.
Shy,
They also- don't
and
they still
bring
have
Neko
architects?
and Teru, I will fucking throw something across a room.
It's done, but think of what the timeline we're on. They signed Neko and Teru as support players. Like,
Yeah.
nothing is off the table.
I think it's important in this debate, by the way, to separate the fact that just because, for example, Super Rich is Chinese, it doesn't have to be implied that there's anything of like the racism that we've experienced between Korean and Chinese players in the past as well. It could just be a communication issue. Like, for example, Shanghai Dragons in 2018, they tried to blend like, three Chinese players with 3 Korean players. That went to shit. Like, it's really hard still for... there are some Chinese players that I think pick up Korean and understand Korean. Like, I don't know. They figured it out in some situations, but this doesn't have to be an internal conflict situation. This doesn't have to be a situation where maybe people do awful behavior towards Super Rich because he is Chinese strictly. It could be because Super Rich, as a Chinese player, has issues communicating with his Korean team, whereas maybe Shy doesn't, all right? So I just want to make the distinction quickly before people get the pitchforks and be irrational and shit.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's because of like anything like race or
No, but
anything
I
like
have to
that,
make
right?
the disclaimer,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
otherwise
it's-
people fuel to the fire, make assumptions, shit like that. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how bad they think Super Rich is playing, or maybe it's a mass thing. I just can't see how Neko and Teru would be an upgrade. Maybe they are just secretly they've been in the fucking lab.
In the
cooking
lab
something
without
up.
access to Overwatch 2.
Yeah,
Do you
I don't
what
know.
would be fucking crazy if there's randomly a May meta and then Teru doesn't even play support. They just put him in on May, and it's just like, hey.
I genuinely thought that was what it was for. I was like, oh, Teru's gonna play May.
No,
That's
he's been
exactly
playing
what I thought.
support.
I saw the fucking graphic. I didn't see support, and then the little logo. I was like, he's DPS. Don't they have like fucking 15 of them already? No, they have 4 and maybe 5.
Yeah, because all they still have
I
architects.
instantly
They
assumed.
literally still have
Yes,
architects.
exactly.
He's still on that
I-
roster. So
I don't understand. That would be the biggest meme if he did come in as a support and then play May. Like, it would be so. His main's pretty good though, to be fair, but strange
All right.
to say the least.
All right, I think that wraps up APAC pretty nicely. We didn't talk about Fusion versus Hangzhou Spark, but I think because of all these signings, we can assume that maybe Philly has the edge when it comes to that, fighting for that 3rd spot. And also, Fusion has had the edge the last couple of times they've actually met. So Fusion definitely trending towards securing that 3rd and final APAC spot. So that will be very interesting to follow. And then the play-ins as well. If Chengdu makes the playoffs over Hangzhou, I wouldn't even be mad. I'd like to see Leave in the playoffs. That'd be fucking sick.
No,
I mean, it could be a
I've had
really
enough
good
of Chengdu this day.
Okay,
I don't want to see them.
But the thing is, the meta could be good for them,
I'm
though.
pissed. No,
It could
I've
be
had
good
enough.
for them.
I don't want to see them. It's like they burned my bridge.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you want to see them. They're going to show up anyways. Justin's been doing it to me for 3 years. So, like, it doesn't matter.
All right.
It just does not matter.
I'm going to make a controversial executive decision live here on the show. generally, we actually have it scheduled now as well. We'd move into power rankings, but I propose that we skip power rankings because first of all, we don't have official patch notes, and also we're moving off of Jotes, which was a very individual kind of weird wonky meta that doesn't even hold like precedence moving into the next one. And third, our fucking pre-summer showdown rankings was catastrophic and will haunt us to this day. So with all those 3 points out of the way, it was all right, but Dallas Fuel were like 8 or whatever. I propose that we skip power rankings. We've also gone on for 2.5 hours, and maybe we'll do power rankings next week with some bullet points or data points behind us or whatever. We'll do power rankings then. Sure. We have some quick predictions though. Kurt obviously has the amazing technology of doing all the predictions. You know, the scores we keep, etc. like that. They're flying home this week, so maybe next week we'll have Kurt back to be the producer and do the prediction production. And, you know, maybe I want to do all of it. So that'd be nice. But for the moment, we're gonna do scuffed predictions just to get like a bit of a vibe going into the week 1 matches. So I picked out a few close matchups and I just like get the vibe check for everyone going into these. So Boston Uprising versus Houston Outlaws is the first one. Keep in mind now, Boston Uprising with the Western lineup, if they start playing that again, with Seeker in the lineup, do we think this is like an opportunity for Boston Uprising to punch upwards and like capitalize on Houston Outlaws being a bit mediocre in the Summer Showdown, or do we still think Houston Outlaws is the superior team? They should beat Boston.
I don't know if I just say this too much, but I feel like this could be a classic Houston Outlaws just miss the meta. You know, like I feel like sometimes
if they play Sombra, you know.
But in my defense, I'm right like 50% of the time. So, so honestly, it could go either way. But you know, Houston, they are not lacking talent at all. The interesting question is if they do go to a Sombra meta, will we see Dante finally move back over to DPS, play the Sombra with Pelican on the side? If we go to a Tracer meta, they're going to open up into that old can of worms where Pelican doesn't feel as confident on Tracer as he does other heroes. So there's a lot of directions in which the meta could go, which I think could be bad for the Outlaws and make them lean on some players that they don't, you know, necessarily want to lean on. But Outlaws are the better team, theoretically. But as much as I am, you know, I have a lot of hype on this Boston squad now that, you know, Seeker seems to be playing really well. Crimson Punk probably mainstays in the lineup. I think it could be really cool to see what Boston does, but I think Houston Outlaws is still my pred.
Anyone going for a cheeky Boston pred here?
I'm going for Houston.
All right.
So.
Yeah.
I will say I'm gonna throw 1 point though. What the fuck? Who's playing? Is Doge gonna make it to the States? He's been permabenched in Europe, right? Is he gonna make it to the States if there's like a main tank meta for Houston?
I don't think so.
Like Winston?
I don't know.
Because does that mean Dante plays Winston for this team?
I think they would die on the Doomfist hill before they play Winston.
Or would they just play Doomfist full time? But also Doomfist with the Sombra into new Sombra potentially.
And that sort of was my question of like, if Dante needs to play Doomfist, then who's playing Sombra? I'm actually not sure if Pelican plays Sombra. I don't know.
Like, if anything, the Boston roster makes more sense than the Houston Outlaws roster right now. But on overall talent, I'm just gonna give it to Outlaws.
Yeah.
So. All right.
Yep. Same.
I'm very excited for Seeker to trailblaze his way through the end of the season, and maybe we'll see Seeker in, I said this. I made a small rant on my stream that some of these teams like picking up the generational talent in contenders or whatever, it's a bit like a lottery. It's like a bit of gambling, and like as soon as you're a known prospect like in the Overwatch scene, as long as when you've been around for like a year or two, like your value as a player almost like diminishes because people have seen what you're capable of, and like people don't believe in you improving from that standpoint. Whereas like if you're a new toy being promoted from contenders, it's like, oh, there's this untapped potential. We've actually have no idea how far this player can climb. So I was like, I just made this dumb fucking statement. I was like, if Seeker like retires now, he's had 1 game under his belt, and he comes back for next season, it's like, yo, I'm looking for a team, guys, for next season. He has that 1 amazing reverse sweep pop-off match, and his value would almost be higher than if he plays this season out with the Boston Uprising and has a pretty mediocre stage or whatever. So, I don't know.
That is an incredibly meta take. I mean...
Yeah, because, maybe some of these teams will be like, hey, Seeker was pretty good in that 1 match, he was lights out, player of the match, that was a sensational performance, What if he does that every match for us? That's... I don't know.
Mad
I'm
respect
off the
too.
scoop.
Drops the bag in his first game and just types in chat. You know, like mad fucking respect.
He had one of the best like mid-season debut performances we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Like mid-season signing. Like that performance individually was crazy. Yeah, it wasn't against the best team, but like it was still impressive.
End on a high note, Seeker. Retire now and then come back.
It wasn't the Players TV show with the lead guy who plays one game and then he makes like an org called like what is that? Fuck, it was something where he's like he plays one game, wins, and then just retires. And he's like never lost. I think is his brand.
Never lost.
I should be a TV show writer. No. Amazing. Yeah, let's move on. We got a few more matches before we wrap up. Toronto Defiant versus Atlanta Reign. We talked about this match already. It's one of the most important matches of the entire stage, with Toronto and Atlanta battling for one of those direct playoff spots. Toronto Defiant finished top 3, their own homestand. It looked really good, but it's a new meta. Atlanta Reign, before this stage, they placed top 3 in 6 competitive consecutive stage tournaments. Do we believe this is Atlanta Reign's return to form? Or is this regular season shenanigans, and Toronto Defiant are probably the favorite here?
Toronto, let's go. I'm still riding high, baby. Toronto Defiant. Easy.
Oh, even
smackdown.
Avast is doubting. Look at his
Easy
face.
smackdown. Don't you fucking do it, Connor. I swear. Who's casting that game? Okay, not me. Okay, fuck. I have no skin in this game then.
Avast, come to
Toronto
me. Let me say.
No.
Atlanta speedily has had more screen time.
So here's the
Speedily
thing I have.
good. Toronto Defiant backline, insane, sicko mode.
Yeah, but the problem here is that I don't know. Like their tank line is still up in the air. Obviously, Muse has some good performances. Hoppa's had some good performances. But I mean, overall, also like their DPS, like Hisu, and what do they do with Finale / Although, like what, like and also the thing about Defiant for me, it seems like for what happens with Defiant is they generally get, well, so is it Rain too. Rain also gets better as the stage goes on. So, okay, opening match. I think Defiant takes it. I think Rain very possibly gets better throughout the stage though. So, opening match, Defiant takes it.
That's a good like moral standpoint from Avast. You know, he holds his Toronto Defiant fandom close and belief in that team, but he also acknowledges that Atlanta Reign, good down the line. Custa?
I'm going for Atlanta. I don't think Toronto is going to be able to replicate the performance. I think they were great, and I think they will be good, but I think Atlanta's going to be strong. I think they're going to be very prepared and understanding. Like, their biggest thing is they show up to the matches when it really matters, and this is a match that really fucking matters, and they should recognize that. So I think they're probably going to be very ready for this match.
I'm going with Toronto Defiant.
This might be
match of the week,
I'm alone here? No way.
I'm going with
I like
Toronto Defiant. I was going to go with the Atlanta
This
Reign.
is hands down match of the week.
Yeah,
Looking
absolutely.
at the matches, like 1,000%.
If it is a Sombra meta and Toronto Defiant picks that shit up quick and they play Hisu Sombra and then they can do whatever they want, I think structurally they will be comfortable playing this meta. It sort of like caters to, even like, I don't think if Muse is going to play a lot of Winston, but it's sort of like that tempo, that style. I think they'll be good in that style. Whereas like Atlanta Reign, look, throughout my time in Overwatch, this is going to sound so fucking old and like, whatever. But I've seen star DPS players go to like utter shit the moment they touch Sombra. Because like it's such a different kind of play and that they're not used to. It's such a different kind of style of play. So as much as I love Speedily, I don't know what Atlanta Reign will do. I'm not going to take it for granted that they will roll out on Sombra and just be like sensational in that regard. Kai, amazing hit scan player. But that's kind of what he does. Maybe we'll even see Nero Sombra. Like, I'm not going to count it out. So I don't know what Atlanta Reign will do. I have a lot of respect for them. I think they'll do great this stage. But I feel like Toronto Defiant is a more known quantity. And I think they'll faster pick this meta up. So I'm going with Toronto too. That's my take.
Okay. 3v1? Okay.
Next match, a bit more one-sided. But it's iconic. So I had to throw it up in a way. London Spitfire against the Vancouver Titans. And this is a London Spitfire team that, of course, doing great right now. They've played some Sombra throughout the year, Backbone, for example, so maybe they picked that up quick. Maybe this is a return to Reinhardt from London Spitfire, but it's against the Vancouver Titans. It's an iconic toilet bowl from last year, and Vancouver Titans are looking, pretty cool as well. So London Spitfire, Vancouver Titans. Who do we have?
Spitfire.
Probably London, just because they can, if they really need to, and depending how quickly teams develop this meta or like fall into the meta. I think London can still default back to more of a Rhine centric comp, like maybe a little bit of Rhine rush with the May. I think they'll have the upper edge just in terms of that.
Hey, question: do
can
Titans have a
fall
main
back.
tank?
No,
They don't have a tank player. They don't have a tank player. They don't.
They have Pulse. Okay, so
But
they
off tank
do.
player. They have two.
and
They have an
Mirror
off
is
tank
a
player and a
Doom
DPS player that plays off tank. They do not have a main tank player.
I think they go. Yeah, Vancouver is going to be an interesting one. It's 100% based on the tank. I think London just has a much better way forward. Right? Like I think they can solve it.
I'm still going to believe that this is, you know, a bit of a toilet bowl rivalry. So I hope it's a good game anyway. Moving on, I'm going to skip one of these matches I picked. Moving on, let's go APAC region. Chengdu Hunters against the Hangzhou Spark. So Custa, he's done with the Chengdu Hunters bullshit. He's just over the Chengdu Hunters.
I've had enough of it.
But they're playing the Hangzhou Spark, buddy. Come on now. You got to pick one of the two. Chengdu versus Hangzhou.
I'm gonna go for Chengdu because I don't believe in Neko and Terror. You know what? Like that to me that screams that there is internal conflict. There are things going on. I also think it's not going to be a meta where Shy is going to be able to play hit scan, which I think is one of their strengths. The only wrench that I think the Spark can throw in my plans is Alpha Yi Tracer just goes absolutely fucking crazy. And I think we'll see Gushue Winston come out. So. But the backline, I think, is going to be important, and I'm just not sold on it. So I'm going Chengdu. I think Leave can deadlift them, and like Jinmu Sombra is a little sussy, but we'll see.
I've asked Jaws, do we got Chengdu or Hangzhou quickly?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same lines as Scott, to be honest. Yeah, I'll go Hunters.
I'm abandoning my Hangzhou fandom.
And Teru, I don't know, bro.
Yeah, I'll go with Chengdu too. And then finally, a last match. It's going to be epic. It's Seoul Dynasty against the Shanghai Dragons. Another giga banger. A repeat, of course, of the Summer Showdown finals. Seoul Dynasty against the Shanghai Dragons in a new meta, mind you. Who do we think picks this meta up quicker? Who do we think has maybe the more mechanical skill? Is it going to be Seoul or Shanghai?
Oh, yeah.
Probably take Shanghai.
Lip Sombra.
Yeah, Shanghai.
All right, yeah, you're right.
If it's looking like a Sombra meta, yeah.
Yeah, Lip Sombra, you're right. All right. Well, that was very unexciting. I was hoping that would be a bit of a giga banger discussion, but yeah, you're right. Lip Sombra, if there's a Sombra meta, Shanghai are going to be favored, and they're probably going to go like 6-0 this stage or whatever. All right, but those are some Scuffed Week 1 predictions. I'm looking forward to see what this meta holds. And that does it for another 2-hour, 40-minute episode of Plat Chat. There's a lot of good content in there. You can fit so many good narratives in this bad boy. Let's end it off with Bren's Player of the Week. And look, I need you guys' help here, all right? I was offline. No idea if anyone did something good in the scene. Something, you know, it was a great moment or whatever. Come on, think long and hard, guys.
Okay,
who's Bren's Player of the Week?
Let me throw this out there. Can we make it all of the Overwatch developers, because I feel like they've been hated on for the last 3 years, and because they haven't been able to show things, and I feel like we're finally starting to get a glimpse at it, and I just want to give them a good thumbs up, like, hey guys, we appreciate what you're doing, please keep doing it. Unless someone has a better idea.
No, I was going to say the Neko. Oh my god, dude, he's stuck in my head. He's stuck in my head. He's infiltrating my brain.
Just like
the
voices.
Living rent free. I was going to say the like hero design team from Blizzard Entertainment. With Kiriko, she looks fucking crazy. All the art they've already fucking done, the trailers and shit like that, I think they've done just a ridiculous job. So that was going to be my vote. But yeah, I mean, the entire dev team I'm down.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it to I think developers give a shout out, because especially with all the recent shit with like the GTA stuff, you know. Devs have been having a rough time. Like, they have been having a rough time. I mean, also, you know who else? Yeah, actually, it's irrelevant, right? I was gonna be like, that's not, yeah, give it to devs. But in the question below, I want everyone to say, who's the better show right now, Rings of Power or House of the Dragon?
I haven't seen Rings of Power.
That's
good.
House of the Dragon's been good though. You know, I feel like we're ramping up.
I put Rings of Power on the back burner, and I'm like amazed
Let me
that I did
tell
that.
you, people are divided. I put out my take, and I had people coming out saying that I was mentally deficient.
Well,
I had
were
people
you
coming out
wrong?
saying that like
People are passionate about this.
people
shit, man.
people were literally like your genes should be purged from the pool for saying
I can
this.
already
Like, I'm telling,
predict that
we're
you went out
divided.
and said Rings of Power was good.
I did say Rings of Power was good.
Yeah.
I thought Rings of Power was
good.
a current.
It is really
I think
good.
people have an
It should.
unreasonable hate boner for Rings of Power right now, and I thought it was going to be trash based off the narrative that I'd heard online. I went and watched it, and I was like, wait a minute, like, this looks pretty good. Like, I don't think it's like perfect show by any means, but I also don't find House of Dragon to be that good currently either.
The most
I feel like
recent
it's kinda
episode,
meh.
I will say, before House of Dragon was kind of mid, but the most recent episode.
I haven't watched the most recent episode. That's the
Okay,
thing. I
watch
haven't
that
watched the most recent
episode and then get back to me. It feels like we're ramping
Yeah.
back into good.
But that's the
peak
thing.
Game
I
of
think
Thrones.
they've both been building up.
Yeah.
Been building up a bit. So like, my take was based off the current status of them, not where like the overall series is going to end up, but just the current status.
Yeah, I gotta say
pissed.
myself, I don't think I can deal with 2 fantasy TV shows at the same time, so I'll watch Rings of Power later. There's also a new Star Wars
what I'm
show
doing
coming
as well.
out that looking pretty lit, so you know we got tons of great TV shows at the moment. To Custa's point, this most recent episode, I did finish the episode with my fiance, and then I like stood up and I was like, Game of Thrones is back. That was my reaction to the episode.
It really felt like that. Like it's been building everything, and it finally. I was like, people were like, "Oh, what is it like?" I'm like, "It's just world building right now. It's like it's in the world and that kind of stuff." But for the first time ever, I felt like I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm fucking excited.
Yeah.
Once I watch it, then my view might shift drastically.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It was a banger of an episode. It was really good.
Watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Shut up, Jack.
It goes crazy.
I am gonna watch that
crazy.
too. I'm gonna watch that
Okay,
too. I just
good,
have
good.
to have a lot of
Thank
time.
you.
I
At
will
least
watch
one
that.
person. It is
I will
a
watch that.
sick fucking show. There's a lot of good shows right now. Just saying, a good
Yeah.
time to
it's a good
indulge in
TV show,
media.
All good shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want the takeaway of Bren's Spread of the Week to be it's the devs. It's going to the devs, guys. It's not going to the TV show creators. It's going to the devs. So, you know, if you want to spread the word on social media or whatever, you know, Bren's Spread of the Week this week is the Overwatch developers for you know, making amazing heroes and world building, and you know, we love this franchise and we're so excited for Overwatch 2. So that's Bren's Spread of the Week. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Next week we'll return and we'll make power rankings after actually having watched matches in this patch, whatever it's going to be. It's going to be a good time. So make sure you like the video, leave a comment down below. I might be a bit late on timestamps this round. I was a bit bad when it came to uploading the topics and stuff. So I'll sort out the timestamps and figure that out, and I'll have this uploaded on audio platforms, hopefully in time for tomorrow's commute for everyone. So, you know, I'll get to that and work my ass off to make that happen. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Custa, Avast, and Jaws, and we'll see you next week for episode 145 of Plat Overwatch. Take care, everyone, and enjoy the games.